Cali Carter was 34 years old and worked as an assistant district attorney in Galveston County, Texas. She was well known in her town for being very good at her job, especially when it came to fighting crime involving the many cults that operated in the area. Many people in Galveston admired her hard work and dedication. Cali was not just about her job. She was also a big part of the community. She often organized charity events to help people in need and loved participating in the town's festivals, like the annual Galveston Island Food and Wine Festival. Cali lived in a cozy house on a quiet street in Galveston. She was married to James Carter, though their relationship had become strained. Despite this, she remained hopeful and focused on her future. She had big dreams for her career and wanted to make Galveston a safer place for everyone. Cali attended the University of Texas at Austin for her law degree, where she graduated with honors. Her passion for law and justice was evident from a young age, often talking about her dreams of someday becoming a judge when she was just 3 years old. Her life was full of promise and potential, and she had a bright future ahead of her. Cali's family was very important to her. She had a close relationship with her parents, Linda and Robert Jenkins, who lived nearby in Houston. She also had an older brother, Tim, a successful judge in Montana who often visited with his wife and kids. Cali's friends described her as optimistic and full of energy. She was always smiling and had a positive outlook on life, even when things were tough. In the days before her death, Cali was busy preparing for a big case against a new cult that had begun attracting members around Galveston Beach. She spent long hours at the office, but still made time to help organize a local charity event to support homeless shelters. She was excited about the future and had plans to take a short vacation with her family after the trial. Cali's untimely death left a void in the community and among those who loved her. Her dedication to her work and her caring nature made her a beloved figure in Galveston. On the morning of June 12, 2004, Galveston was waking up to a warm, sunny day. The town was quiet, with people going about their usual routines. Emily Ruiz, a close friend and neighbor of Cali Carter, was worried. Cali had missed their morning jogs, something she never did. Emily decided to check on her, hoping everything was okay. Emily walked to Cali's house, which was just a few houses down the street. She knocked on the door but got no answer. Growing more concerned, Emily tried the door and found it unlocked. She stepped inside, calling out for Cali. As she walked into the living room, she was met with a horrifying sight. Cali was lying on the floor in a pool of blood. She had been stabbed multiple times, and there were strange marks all over her body. Emily's heart raced as she pulled out her cell phone and dialed 911. Her voice trembled as she spoke to the operator.
911, what's your emergency?
It's my friend, Cali Carter. She's on the floor. There's blood everywhere. I think she's dead. Please, send help.
The 911 operator tried to calm Emily down while dispatching emergency services to the scene. Emily, still in shock, could hardly believe what she was seeing. She stayed on the phone with the operator, who asked her to wait outside until the police arrived. Police and emergency medical services arrived quickly at the scene. They found Emily outside, still in tears and clearly traumatized. The police immediately began to assess the scene and secure the perimeter. They called in forensics experts to help gather evidence. As news of the murder spread through Galveston, the community was in shock. Cali Carter was a well-known and respected figure, and her violent death left everyone reeling. The small town known for its beach and pier was suddenly the center of a major crime investigation. The police arrived at Cali Carter's house quickly after Emily Ruiz's 911 call on the morning of June 12, 2004. It was a sunny day in Galveston, Texas, but the scene inside the house was grim. Detective Sarah Jenkins and Officer Mark Davis led the investigation. Known for their attention to detail, they knew this was going to be a tough case. Detective Jenkins, a cousin of Calante and a seasoned investigator with a calm demeanor, took charge immediately. She directed the officers to secure the area and keep onlookers away. Officer Davis, who was younger and eager, followed her lead, making sure everything was handled by the book. The crime scene in Cali's living room was chaotic. Blood was splattered on the walls and furniture, showing signs of a violent struggle. Cali's body lay in the middle of the room, with multiple stab wounds and strange marks on her skin. The letter Z had been branded in several places on her body, adding a disturbing element to the scene. Forensics experts arrived and began their work. They used luminol to check for hidden blood traces, revealing more about the brutal attack. They dusted for fingerprints, collected hair and fiber samples, and carefully photographed the entire area. The forensics team worked methodically, knowing that every piece of evidence could be crucial. Detective Jenkins noticed a broken vase and some scattered papers, which suggested a fight had taken place. She pointed these out to Officer Davis, who made detailed notes. They also found a bloody knife in the kitchen sink, which was quickly bagged as evidence. While Jenkins and Davis were busy inside, officers canvassed the neighborhood, talking to anyone who might have seen or heard something unusual. A few neighbors reported hearing loud noises the night before, but no one had called the police. As the investigation continued, Jenkins and Davis discussed possible motives. They knew Cali was working on prosecuting a strange cult that had been attracting hundreds of converts in the Galveston area. The branding with the letter Z seemed like a possible link to the cult. Detective Jenkins also remembered that Cali's husband, James Carter, had a troubled past and a rocky relationship with Cali. They decided to question him as soon as possible. The detectives knew they had to consider all possibilities and leave no stone unturned. James Carter, 36, was the first suspect in the investigation. He was Cali's husband, and their relationship had been increasingly rocky. James was known around Galveston as a lazy, unemployed man, very different from his successful wife. People often saw him arguing with Cali in public. James had a history of cheating and had been acting strangely in the weeks before Cali's murder. The police brought James in for questioning on the afternoon of June 12, 2004. Detective Sarah Jenkins and Officer Mark Davis conducted the interrogation. James appeared nervous and restless, shifting in his seat and avoiding eye contact.
Where were you last night?
I was home, watching Jay Leno and the Reagan funeral.
Can anyone confirm that?
No, not really. Cali went to bed early. I was alone.
Detective Jenkins took note of his inconsistent alibi. She knew they needed more to go on, so she continued to probe.
We found a bloody knife in your kitchen sink. How do you explain that?
I don't know. I didn't touch no knife.
As the questioning continued, James's story seemed to fall apart. He couldn't provide a clear timeline of his actions the night Cali was murdered. His behavior became more erratic, and he started to sweat.
James, we know you'd been having an affair with a woman named Maureen. Did Cali find out about her?
She knew. But that ain't mean I killed her.
Throughout the interrogation, James's responses were inconsistent and unconvincing. Detective Jenkins decided to take a break and regroup. They needed to verify his alibi and gather more evidence before they could move forward. The police also searched James's personal belongings and found troubling evidence. There were sexually explicit letters from several women. They also found a hidden stash of $3,000, raising more questions about James' activities. As the day went on, it became clear that James Carter was hiding something. The detectives knew they had to keep digging to uncover the truth. They decided to question Maureen next, hoping to find more links between her and James. Galveston was buzzing with rumors about the case. Everyone was eager for answers, and the police were determined to provide them. They worked tirelessly, knowing that every detail could bring them closer to solving the murder of Cali Carter. The second suspect in the investigation was Maureen Zaftrapines, 56, the secretive leader of Xenon philosophy, a new cult that had been quickly gaining popularity around Galveston. The teachings of the group were based on the 1999 Disney Channel original movie Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century.
Hello, I am Maureen Zaftrapines, agent of Lady Xenon Carr. Today I invite you to explore Xenon philosophy, a futuristic vision and a prophecy of humanity's evolution towards cosmic enlightenment. Through chanting of Lord Protozo's sacred lyrics, we attune our souls to the cosmic frequencies, preparing ourselves for the journey towards higher realms of existence. Our sacred branding of the letter Z symbolizes our commitment to Xenon philosophy as we embark on the path of spiritual enlightenment. We are not just individuals, but a cosmic community united by our shared vision. As we journey towards the stars, let us embrace the teachings of the Xenon philosophy, for within its wisdom lies the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe and the boundless potential of our souls. May the light of Lady Xenon guide us on our cosmic voyage. Cetus Lupitus.
The group believed that the futuristic vision presented in the movie, known to members as Xenon philosophy, was a prophetic glimpse into humanity's destiny, and that a character in the movie, Protozoa, a rock star, was a prophet whose lyrics contained hidden messages and spiritual truths. Members considered his
songs to be sacred texts, often reciting and analyzing them for guidance. They believed that through spiritual purity and adherence to their teachings, members would travel to the space station featured in the movie. More importantly, the group considered the letter Z, short for Zinum, to be a holy symbol representing the ultimate spiritual journey. Members believed that the Z had protective and purifying powers and often used it in rituals and branding. Initiation involved a branding ceremony, where new members received a Z mark. This, combined with the fact that Cali Carter had been preparing to prosecute the cult for stockpiling weapons, made Maureen a key person of interest. Detective Sarah Jenkins and Officer Mark Davis brought Maureen in for questioning on June 13, 2004. Maureen arrived at the station dressed in 5 to 11 tactical wear. Her usual calm and composed demeanor was deeply unsettling. When asked about her whereabouts the night Cali was murdered, Maureen claimed she was at the group's headquarters leading their evening meditation. She insisted that hundreds of followers could confirm her alibi. The detectives knew they needed to verify this, but continued to press her about her relationship with Calante and the prosecution case. Maureen maintained that she and Calante had no personal quarrel, and that she was simply doing her job as Callie was doing hers. Despite her calm exterior, the detectives sensed Maureen was hiding something. They questioned her about her connection with James Carter, noting how he admitted to a sexual relationship with he. Maureen admitted to having spoken with James a few times but denied any romantic involvement. The detectives presented Maureen with letters found in James' belongings that suggested a deeper connection between them. Maureen dismissed the letters, stating that she wrote to thousands of prospective members and implying that the letters meant nothing. As the interrogation continued, Maureen's responses remained measured and deliberate. She never lost her composure, even when the detectives brought up the brandings of the letter Z found on Callie's body, a symbol associated with Zen and philosophy. Maureen brushed off the connection, stating that many things start with the letter Z, and it did not implicate her or her followers. The detectives ended the interrogation, planning to verify her alibi with her followers and dig deeper into Maureen's background and the group's activities. They returned to the crime scene, re-examining everything for any connections to Maureen or her cult. They interviewed members and looked into the group's finances and records, uncovering a complex web of relationships and secrets. Meanwhile, the community was in a state of unease. News of the murder and the involvement of the strange cult had everyone on edge. People were talking about it in cafes, at the beach, and on the popular local radio station KGL. Detective Jenkins and Officer Davis were determined to uncover the truth. They knew that every detail mattered, and that Maureen Zaftrapines was a critical piece of the puzzle. As the investigation into Cali Carter's murder unfolded, the focus shifted to uncovering new evidence that could shed light on the events leading up to her death. Maureen Zaftrapines, a leader of Xenon philosophy, initially emerged as a suspect due to her connection with James Carter and the contentious relationship between the Carters. As detectives delved deeper, though, they found that Maureen's alibi was solid, supported by corroborating evidence and witness testimonies. However, while she was not directly implicated in Callie's murder, it became clear that while she had been involved in an affair with James. Nevertheless, a significant revelation emerged during the investigation. Maureen had been blackmailing Callie. Threatening to expose their affair with James, Maureen pressured Callie to abandon her prosecution of Xenon philosophy. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the case, suggesting a motive rooted in personal vendetta and coercion. The blackmailing scheme exerted immense pressure on Callie, worsening tensions within her marriage and contributing to James's already unstable mental state. The realization that his extramarital affair was at risk of exposure, coupled with the prospect of financial ruin resulting from Callie's intention to leave him, possibly pushed James to a breaking point. The police, armed with this newfound understanding of the circumstances surrounding Callie's murder, intensified their scrutiny of James Carter. His erratic behavior, history of infidelity, and the mounting evidence linking him to the crime scene made him a prime suspect in their eyes. Meanwhile, the revelation of Maureen's blackmailing tactics sent shockwaves through the community, prompting widespread speculation and scrutiny of the Xenon philosophy. Galveston's residents grappled with the unsettling realization that their beloved assistant district attorney had been ensnared in a web of deceit and manipulation orchestrated by those closest to her. The third suspect in the investigation was Michael Lawson, an 82-year-old local police officer with a long history in Galveston. Michael had a complicated relationship with Cali Carter. They had dated briefly before she married James, and rumors suggested that his patronage helped her rise quickly to the position of assistant district attorney. Michael had never fully moved on from their relationship and was known to harbor lingering feelings for Cali. On June 14, 2004, detectives decided to bring Michael in for questioning. His advanced age and distinguished career in law enforcement added a layer of complexity to the investigation. Michael arrived at the station in his uniform, carrying himself with the dignity of a seasoned officer, but there was a noticeable tension in his demeanor. Detectives Sarah Jenkins and Mark Davis led the interrogation, keen to understand Michael's potential involvement in the case. They began by asking about his relationship with Cali and his whereabouts on the night of her murder. Michael stated that he had been at home, alone, reading a book about World War II, his favorite historical period. The detectives found his alibi weak and decided to dig deeper. They asked about his feelings for Cali and if he had any contact with her recently. Michael admitted that he still cared for Cali, but denied any recent interactions beyond professional encounters. He appeared calm but evasive when pressed for details, raising suspicions about his true involvement. In addition to questioning Michael, the detectives examined his personal and professional records. They discovered that Michael had a history of becoming overly involved in cases where he had personal connections. This tendency made his proximity to the investigation and his personal history with Cali more troubling. The police also reviewed surveillance footage from the area around Cali's home on the night of the murder. While they did not find clear evidence placing Michael at the scene, his long-standing infatuation with Cali and his erratic behavior in similar past situations kept him on their radar. Throughout the investigation, Michael's colleagues and the community were divided in their opinions. Some viewed him as a dedicated officer who would never harm Cali, while others believed his unresolved feelings could have driven him to a desperate act. As the detectives continued to scrutinize Michael, they knew that they needed solid evidence to either confirm or rule out his involvement. His age and status made the case delicate, but the team remained committed to uncovering the truth behind Cali Carter's tragic death. As the investigation into Cali Carter's murder progressed, the police began to piece together crucial evidence pointing towards the true perpetrator. On June 15, 2004, a breakthrough came when they found incriminating evidence against James Carter, Cali's husband. James, a 36-year-old jobless man, had a troubled past marked by infidelity and erratic behavior. Cali had recently discovered his affair with Maureen's Afterpines, which further strained their already tumultuous marriage. Detectives uncovered that Cali had planned to leave James and expose his affair, threatening to cut off his financial support. Faced with the potential ruin of his leisurely lifestyle, James's desperation drove him to a breaking point. Further forensic analysis revealed that James's fingerprints were on the knife used to stab Cali multiple times. Additionally, fibers from his clothing matched those found at the chaotic crime scene. The branding of the letter Z on Cali's body, initially thought to be linked to Maureen's cult, was identified as a desperate attempt by James to divert suspicion towards Xenon philosophy. On the morning of June 16, 2004, under a clear blue Texas sky, the police moved to arrest James at his home, which was also the site of the murder. Detective Sarah Jenkins and Officer Mark Davis approached the house with a sense of urgency and caution. James opened the door, visibly agitated and disheveled. As she and Davis placed him in handcuffs, James's face turned pale, and he protested loudly, but the overwhelming evidence left him with little room for denial. The news of James' arrests sent shockwaves through Galveston. Cali's family, who had been anxiously following the investigation, expressed a mix of relief and sorrow. Cali's mother, Margaret, tearfully thanked the police for their diligent work but lamented the tragic loss of her beloved daughter. The community, already shaken by the murder, grappled with the revelation that the crime was committed by someone so close to Cali. Friends and colleagues of Cali were stunned, finding it hard to reconcile the image of James as the loving husband with the brutal facts of the case. James' arrest marked a critical turning point in the investigation, bringing some closure to a grieving family and community. The focus now shifted to ensuring justice for Cali through the upcoming trial. James Carter's trial for the murder of Cali Carter began on September 1, 2005, in the Galveston County Courthouse. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Linda Ramirez, 45, known for her no-nonsense attitude and sharp legal acumen, presented a compelling case against James. They detailed how his desperate attempt to silence Cali was driven by the fear of exposure and financial ruin. The prosecution's argument relied heavily on the forensic evidence. James' fingerprints on the murder weapon, the matching fibers, and the digital trail of messages and emails between James and Maureen's after Pines. Ramirez painted a vivid picture of a man cornered by his own lies and infidelity, driven to commit an unthinkable act. In contrast, the defense, headed by attorney Ulcer Mitchum, 50, known for his smooth-talking style and high-profile case history, tried to cast doubt on the evidence. Mitchell argued that the investigation was biased from the start, influenced by the community's shock and grief. He suggested that the evidence was circumstantial and that the branding of the letter Z pointed more convincingly towards Zen and philosophy. The trial lasted for 3 intense weeks, with testimonies from forensic experts, character witnesses, and members of Zen on philosophy. The courtroom was filled with residents, journalists, and TV crews from stations like local ABC affiliate KTRK, all eager to witness the unfolding drama. On September 21, 2005, the jury delivered their verdict, guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief and tears. James Carter showed little emotion as the verdict was read, his face a mask of resignation. The sentencing hearing followed swiftly. The judge handed down a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole, citing the brutality of the crime and the betrayal of trust as key factors in her decision. The verdict and sentencing resonated deeply within the Galveston community. Some felt the punishment was just, reflecting the heinous nature of the crime. Others debated the fairness, given James' apparent lack of remorse and the complexities of the case. The trial's conclusion brought some closure, but also highlighted the deep scars left by the tragedy. Friends and colleagues of Cali continued to mourn her loss while trying to move forward, forever changed by the events that had transpired. In the months following the trial, the community of Galveston slowly began to heal from the tragedy of Cali Carter's murder. Life for many, however, was irrevocably changed. James Carter, now serving a life sentence without parole, faced the grim reality of his actions. In prison, he was known to be a solitary figure, rarely interacting with other inmates. Reports indicated that he spent most of his time in his cell, reflecting on the life he had destroyed. Maureen Afterpines, the leader of Zen philosophy, faced intense scrutiny following the trial. Though she was not directly involved in the murder, the revelations about her affair with James and the subsequent blackmailing of Cali tarnished her reputation. Membership dwindled as former followers questioned her teachings and integrity. Maureen stepped down from her leadership position and retreated from public life, leaving the future of the Zen philosophy uncertain. Michael Lawson, the elderly police officer who had been a suspect, struggled to rebuild his reputation. Despite being cleared of any involvement in the murder, the investigation had taken a toll on his career and personal life. Michael retired from the police force and moved to El Paso, Texas, seeking peace and distance from the painful memories. The case of Cali Carter remained a somber chapter in Galveston's history, but it also served as a reminder of the importance of justice and the impact one person's life can have on a community. Through collective effort and remembrance, Galveston aimed to move forward while honoring Cali's legacy. Melanie Varela, a 20-year-old from Sherbrooke, Quebec, found herself attending the University of Virginia and working as a nanny during her summer break. This dedicated and ambitious young woman was driven by her dreams of becoming a successful lawyer. Melanie had a loving family back in Canada and was known for her kind and compassionate nature. It was the summer of 1999, and Charlottesville, Virginia was buzzing with excitement. The city was preparing for a concert at the University of Virginia's Scott Stadium. The event was highly anticipated, with fans flocking from all over the country to witness the renowned musical extravaganza. In the midst of this vibrant atmosphere, Melanie found herself employed by the wealthy Hartzfeld family. They were prominent members of the community who lived in a grand mansion on the outskirts of town, surrounded by sprawling gardens and a white picket fence. Melanie's days were filled with taking care of the Hartzfelds' child, Mei Ling, adopted from China. She would wake up early in the morning to prepare breakfast, help with school assignments, and engage in various outdoor activities. The girl adored Melanie, and she quickly became an integral part of their lives. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect family, there were whispers of tension and secrets. Rumors circulated among the local gossip mill, hinting at marital discord and financial troubles within the household. As the days turned into weeks, Melanie's curiosity grew. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Determined to uncover the truth, she discreetly began snooping around the house, searching for any clues that might shed light on the Thompsons' hidden secrets. Little did Melanie know her quest for the truth would lead her down a dark and treacherous path, forever changing the course of her life. On the ominous afternoon of June 2, 1999, the quiet town of Charlottesville, Virginia, was shrouded in an atmosphere of unease. Dark clouds ominously loomed overhead, mirroring the impending tragedy that was about to unfold. As the day wore on, tension mounted within the Hartzfeld residence. The once peaceful home now held a sinister secret, unbeknownst to Melanie Varela, a diligent and driven 20-year-old student from Sherbrooke, Quebec, who had been working as a nanny for the affluent Hartzfeld family during her summer break from the University of Virginia. Little did she know that her life was about to take a tragic turn, forever altering the lives of those around her. It was in the dimly lit basement of the Hartzfeld family's opulent mansion that Melanie's lifeless body was discovered. The shocking find was made by Jane La Salvador, a Brazilian maid employed by the family. Startled and trembling, Janela wasted no time in alerting the authorities, her voice quivering with fear as she recounted the horrifying scene she had stumbled upon. Gossip about Melanie's untimely demise spread like wildfire through the tight-knit community of Charlottesville. As the investigation unfolded, details would emerge. The basement, once a place of storage and solace, had become a haunting crime scene. The authorities meticulously combed through the area, searching for any clues that would shed light on the events leading to Melanie's tragic demise. In this small town, where everyone seemed to know each other, the tragic death of Melanie Varela shattered the illusion of safety. The once peaceful streets now felt haunted as the community grappled with the chilling reality that a dark secret had been lurking within their midst. On June 2, 1999, Charlottesville, Virginia, a city usually steeped in the idyllic charm of Southern history and academia, was rocked by a grisly discovery. In the basement of a stately home on the prestigious Maplewood Drive, the lifeless body of Melanie Varela, a 20-year-old University of Virginia student and part-time nanny, was found. The scene was one of unmitigated horror. Varela had been savagely murdered, her throat slit in a violent act that left the community reeling. The Charlottesville Police Department, led by seasoned detectives Smith and Ramirez, descended upon the Hartzfeld residence with a sense of urgency that matched the gravity of the crime. The family, prominent in local academic circles, was now at the center of a murder investigation that would grip the city for months to come. As the detectives navigated the blood-spattered basement, the evidence of a struggle was undeniable. Amidst the chaos, a picture of the victim began to emerge. Varela, known for her academic ambition and compassionate nature, had been living a double life with members of the Hartzfeld family. As the investigation unfolded, local media outlets like the Daily Progress and Duty Ina Radio provided coverage, drawing parallels to the infamous Ramsey case that had captivated the nation just a few years prior. The community, still reeling from the shock, could hardly believe that such a crime could occur in their midst, in a city where the biggest concerns were often which historical tour to take or whether the Cavaliers would win their next game. The case of Melanie Varela, with its blend of academic prestige and sordid secrets, would become a fixture in the annals of true crime in Charlottesville, a stark reminder that no place, no matter how picturesque, is immune to the darker aspects of human nature. In the quiet college town of Charlottesville, Virginia, a scandalous liaison turned deadly when Melanie Varela, a 20-year-old University of Virginia student, was found murdered. The prime suspect, James Hartzfeld, a 44-year-old physics professor renowned for his academic prowess, but now under scrutiny for his clandestine affairs. Hartzfeld, who had been nurturing a secret sexual relationship with Varela while she nannied his adopted daughter, Mei Ling, became the focal point of a sensational investigation. As detectives delved into the professor's private life, they uncovered a web of deceit that extended far beyond the ivy-covered walls of academia. The case, which unfolded in the summer of 1999, captivated the nation. It was a time when the world was gripped by the fear of the impending Y2K bug, and the media was still reeling from the sensational coverage of the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal. Amidst this backdrop, the Hartzfeld case emerged as a stark reminder of the dark underbelly of seemingly idyllic university life. Detectives Smith and Ramirez, seasoned investigators with the Charlottesville Police Department, interrogated Hartzfeld with a calculated intensity. They probed his alibis, dissected his interactions with Varela, and scrutinized every facet of his personal life. Hartzfeld's reactions, a volatile cocktail of anger and denial, only served to heighten suspicions. As the interrogation wore on, the evidence against Hartzfeld mounted. A torn ticket stub from the hit movie The Matrix hinted at a premeditated alibi, and whispers of Hartzfeld's affinity for the then-popular Tommy Hilfiger Hager painted a picture of a man caught between the facade of respectability and the allure of forbidden pleasures. The case against James Hartzfeld was quickly becoming irrefutable, and the once-respected professor found himself ensnared in a narrative that seemed straight out of a Dateline mystery. As the investigation continued, the question on everyone's mind was whether justice would be served in the court of law or if the court of public opinion had already sealed Hartzfeld's fate. In the serene town of Charlottesville, a veneer of tranquility was shattered by a heinous crime that gripped the community. Paula Hartzfeld, a prominent figure in the literary circles of Charlottesville, Virginia, found herself entangled in a scandalous investigation following the brutal murder of Melanie Varela, a young nanny employed by the Hartzfeld family. Paula, known for her irreverent literary symposiums that often featured esteemed authors and captivated Charlottesville's intellectual elite, seemed an unlikely participant in such a sordid affair. Yet beneath the surface of her cultivated exterior, a different narrative was unfolding, one that would challenge the public's perception of her. The police, delving into the intricacies of Melanie's life, uncovered a clandestine sexual relationship between Paula and the victim. This revelation came as a shock to those who knew Paula as the wife of James Hartzfeld, a respected physics professor, and the mother to Mainling, their adopted daughter from China. During the interrogation, Paula's composure wavered under the weight of the detectives' probing questions. Her unease was palpable, her answers laced with defensiveness. The detectives, seasoned in the art of discernment, noted the subtle shifts in her demeanor, her fleeting glances, the nervous tapping of her fingers, and the inconsistency in her recounting of the events leading up to Melanie's death. As the investigation deepened, the media frenzy intensified. Local news outlets like the Daily Progress began to speculate on the dynamics within the Hartzfeld household. The community watched, riveted, as the case unfolded, bearing witness to a tragedy that would leave an indelible mark on the town's history. The scrutiny of Paula Hartzfeld's role in this grim saga continued, with the authorities piecing together a timeline that suggested a motive rooted in jealousy and betrayal. The question on everyone's mind: could a woman of Paula's stature be capable of such a crime? Or was there more to the story than met the eye? In the investigation of Melanie Varela's murder, a pivotal discovery was made that would cast a new light on the case. The Charlottesville Police Department, in a meticulous search of the Hartzfeld residence, uncovered a diary belonging to the victim. This personal journal, filled with sexually explicit details and confessions, became a key piece of evidence, revealing the complex web of relationships Melanie had entwined with each member of the Hartzfeld family. The diary entries painted a vivid picture of Melanie's life and her interactions with each member of the family. It chronicled her secret sexual liaisons and the emotional turmoil that accompanied them. The police, combing through the pages, found references to clandestine meetings, sexual acts, and a growing sense of fear as Melanie became aware of the precariousness of her situation. Detectives Smith and Ramirez, leading the investigation, approached the diary with the precision of forensic analysts. They cross-referenced dates, events, and encounters, corroborating the diary's accounts with other collected evidence. The diary's revelations were damning, implicating not just one, but all members of the Hartzfeld family in a sordid saga of manipulation and deceit. The media, including local outlets like WVIR-NBC 29, were quick to pick up on the story. The diary's contents became fodder for speculation and analysis as reporters dissected its entries, seeking to understand the motives behind the murder. As the diary's secrets unfolded, the community of Charlottesville watched in disbelief. The University of Virginia, an institution known for its honor code and academic integrity, was now at the center of a scandal that defied comprehension. The Hartzfeld family, once respected members of the academic and literary community, were now suspects in a crime that had shattered the peace of this quiet college town. The investigation into the brutal murder of Melanie Varela took a dramatic turn as attention shifted to Kevin Hartzfeld, the 22-year-old son of James and Paula Hartzfeld. A recent graduate from the University of Virginia, Kevin's involvement with Melanie was as complex as it was secretive. Detectives Smith and Ramirez, experienced in the psychological nuances of interrogation, sat across from Kevin in the store room at the Charlottesville Police Department. The air was thick with tension as they began their questioning, seeking to peel back the layers of Kevin's relationship with Melanie. Kevin, his face a canvas of conflicting emotions, oscillated between anger and palpable fear. His voice, when he spoke, betrayed the turmoil within. The detectives pressed on, their questions sharp and unyielding, cutting to the heart of the matter. They probed for details about his illicit affair with Melanie, an affair that had been kept hidden from the prying eyes of the public. The interrogation revealed a disturbing pattern of behavior. Kevin, like his parents, had been ensnared in a web of sexual deceit with Melanie. The police uncovered evidence of their sexual encounters, each one meticulously documented in a perverse scorecard the family maintained. The Hartzfeld residence, once a symbol of academic achievement and cultural sophistication, was now the epicenter of a scandalous murder investigation. The family's dark secret, once confined to the pages of Melanie's diary, was now laid bare for the world to see. With each passing moment, the walls closed in on Kevin Hartzfeld. The evidence mounted, and the reality of his situation became increasingly clear. The young man, who had once walked the halls of academia with pride, now faced the possibility of a life behind bars. In the quiet college town of Charlottesville, Virginia, a sinister plot unraveled within the walls of the Hartzfeld home, culminating in the tragic demise of Melanie Varela. The investigation into her murder took a dramatic turn when detectives uncovered the involvement of not one, but all three members of the Hartzfeld family. James Hartzfeld, a respected physics professor, his wife Paula, known for her literary gatherings, and their son Kevin, a recent college graduate, were all implicated in the crime. The trio had been entangled in a web of illicit sexual relationships with Melanie, each seeking to have secret sex with her in turn. Their clandestine sex was meticulously recorded in a scorecard of their sexual encounters with her, a chilling testament to the twisted sexual competition that had developed among them. The discovery of this scorecard was a pivotal moment in the case, as it exposed the lengths to which the Hartzfelds would go to maintain their facade of normalcy. Each point on the scorecard represented a sexual encounter with Melanie, reducing her to a mere object in their grotesque sex game. It was this dehumanizing treatment that ultimately led to her silence, permanently. As the community of Charlottesville grappled with the shock of such a heinous act occurring in their midst, the public watched in horror as the details of the case were laid bare, from the bloodstains in the basement to the disturbing entries in Melanie's diary. The Hartzfelds' motive was clear: to protect their secret at all costs. Their fear of exposure drove them to conspire against Melanie, leading to a brutal act of violence that would end her life and shatter the tranquility of Charlottesville. As the trial approached, legal experts weighed in on the case, speculating on the outcome and the potential sentences. The Hartzfelds faced the possibility of life in prison, a stark contrast to their previous lives of prestige and privilege. The case served as a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors, even in the most seemingly idyllic of settings. The police, after a meticulous investigation, pieced together the evidence that pointed unequivocally to the family's guilt in the murder of Melanie Varela. The day of reckoning came when law enforcement officials, armed with irrefutable proof, arrested James, Paula, and Kevin Hartzfeld. The scene was one of stark reality, as the family, once respected members of the community, were handcuffed and taken into custody. The surprise and resignation on their faces were palpable, a stark contrast to their previous academic and social standing. As the news of the arrest spread, local media outlets prepared to broadcast the story, drawing parallels to other infamous family crime sagas. The coverage was thorough, with journalists providing in-depth analysis of the case's impact on the small Virginia town. The victim's family, who had held on to hope from their home in Sherbrooke, Quebec, were now faced with a mix of relief and sorrow. The truth brought closure, but also a deep sense of loss for Melanie, whose aspirations and kindness were remembered by all who knew her. In the solemn halls of the Charlottesville courthouse, the trial of the Hartzfeld family unfolded like a narrative ripped from the pages of a crime thriller, capturing the rapt attention of the area, ensuring that not a single detail of the proceedings would escape the public eye. District Attorney Tina Arundel, known for her prosecutorial acumen, presented the case against the Hartzfelds with precision and clarity. The courtroom hummed on every word as she recounted the sordid details of the relationships between Melanie Varela and each member of the family, painting a picture of a household ensnared in its own web of deceit. Defense attorney Anne-Marie Gooseneck, renowned for her tenacious courtroom strategies, mounted a vigorous defense. She challenged the prosecution's narrative, suggesting that the evidence was circumstantial and the investigation flawed. Her arguments were crafted to sow doubt in the minds of the jurors, but the weight of the evidence was formidable. The prosecution's case was bolstered by the discovery of Melanie's diary, which became the silent witness to the tragedy. It revealed the intimate and exploitative nature of her relationships with James, Paula, and Kevin Hartzfeld, and the existence of a macabre scorecard that documented their encounters. As the trial progressed, the media coverage intensified. Local news outlets like WVIR-NBC 29 featured nightly segments, dissecting each day's testimony and offering expert legal analysis. The case had all the elements of a primetime drama: passion, betrayal, and a quest for justice. The victim's family, who had traveled from Sherbrooke, Quebec, sat in dignified grief, their presence a constant reminder of the life so brutally taken. They listened intently as the prosecution spoke of Melanie's aspirations and her vibrant spirit, now forever silenced. After days of testimony and deliberation, the moment of truth arrived. The jury, having weighed the evidence, found the Hartzfelds guilty on all counts. The sentence was swift and severe, reflecting the gravity of their crimes. The courtroom erupted in a cacophony of emotion as the verdict was read. The trial's conclusion brought closure to some, but for others, questions lingered. Had justice been served? Could anything compensate for the loss of a young woman with such promise? The Hartzfeld case would remain a topic of discussion in law schools, on social media platforms like Twitter, and in the quiet conversations of those who call Charlottesville home. As the gavel struck for the last time, the case of Melanie Varela closed, leaving behind a legacy of cautionary tales about the dangers of secrets and the pursuit of truth. The trial, a stark tableau of the consequences of unchecked desire and duplicity, left an indelible mark on all who witnessed it. The aftermath of the Hartzfeld trial left an indelible mark on the community of Charlottesville. The once respected family faced the stark reality of their actions, as the gavel's final echo signified the end of their saga of a world where the pursuit of truth met the darkest human deeds. The police, lauded for their unwavering dedication, continued to serve as guardians of justice, their resolve strengthened by the case's outcome. The victim's family, hailing from the serene town of Sherbrooke, Quebec, embarked on a painful journey toward healing, their quest for closure intertwined with the memory of Melanie's vibrant life and tragic end. As the Hartzfelds began their sentences, the ripple effects of the trial extended beyond the courtroom. In Charlottesville, life slowly resumed its rhythm, but the shadows cast by the trial lingered. The case became a fixture in the town's lore, a cautionary tale of how secrets can unravel the fabric of a family and a community. The story of Melanie Varela and the Hartzfelds would not be forgotten, serving as a somber reminder of the fragility of trust and the price of deception. The case of Melanie Varela's murder sent shockwaves through Charlottesville, Virginia, in June of 1999. This true crime story exposed the depths of human deception and the tragic consequences that ensued. Daisy Winnow was a pillar of the Torrington community, known for her vibrant personality and infectious smile. Widowed after the passing of her beloved husband, Carl, the previous year, Daisy channeled her energy into running a popular flower shop, aptly named Petals and Blooms. Prior to her entrepreneurial venture, she had dedicated years of her life to shaping young minds as a beloved kindergarten teacher at Torrington Elementary School. Despite her professional success, Daisy's personal life was marked by estrangement from her adult children, who resided in different states. The specifics of their fractured relationship remained a mystery to town residents, but Daisy held on to a glimmer of hope that one day they would reconcile. She yearned to witness the formation of their future families, an aspiration that fueled her every waking moment. In January of 1982, as the harsh winter gripped Torrington, Daisy's life was abruptly cut short. The news of her murder would send shockwaves through the tight-knit community, where such heinous acts were unheard of. Residents who once felt safe walking the streets at night now clutched their loved ones a little tighter, haunted by the chilling realization that evil could lurk in their midst. It was a frigid morning on January 12, 1982, in Torrington, Connecticut. The temperature had dropped to -4 degrees Fahrenheit overnight, and the town was covered in snow. Most residents were still indoors, trying to stay warm and catch up on the news. But for one young man, the day would be marked by a horrific discovery that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Wally Nathaniel, a 17-year-old high school senior, had a part-time job as a delivery boy for the local newspaper, the Register Citizen. He had been working for the paper since he was 14 and knew the town and its people well. One of his favorite stops was Petals in Bloom's, a quaint shop run by Daisy Winnow, a 67-year-old widow and former kindergarten teacher. Wally admired Daisy for her cheerful demeanor and kindness and often chatted with her when he dropped off her paper. That morning, Wally arrived at Daisy's Flowers around 9:35 a.m. as usual. He noticed that the shop's door was slightly ajar, which was unusual for Daisy and unusual given the cold weather. Wally knocked on the door, but there was no answer. He pushed the door open and stepped inside, calling out Daisy's name. What he saw next made him scream and drop his papers. Daisy was lying on the floor behind the counter, surrounded by a pool of blood. Her arms were almost cut off, and her face was unrecognizable. She had been brutally murdered, apparently with a large knife or a machete. Wally ran out of the shop, terrified, and called the police from a nearby payphone. The murder of Daisy Winnow would become a mystery that baffled authorities. Who would kill a harmless old lady in such a barbaric way? What was the motive behind this senseless crime? And where was the killer? These questions remained unanswered for months until a surprising twist in the case revealed the shocking truth behind Daisy's death. As soon as Wally Nathaniel reported his grisly discovery, the Torrington Police Department sprang into action. Within minutes, several patrol cars and an ambulance arrived at Petals and Bloom's, followed by a forensic team and 2 homicide detectives. The shop was quickly sealed off with yellow tape, and curious bystanders were kept at a distance. The detectives in charge of the case were Michael Harrison and Sarah Jones-Levy, both seasoned veterans with impressive track records. They had worked together for over 5 years and had solved some of the most challenging cases in the state. They were known for their thoroughness, professionalism, and dedication. But even they were not prepared for the horror that awaited them inside the shop. As they entered, they were greeted by a scene of carnage that made them gasp. Daisy Winnow, the victim, was lying on the floor behind the counter, her body mutilated beyond recognition. Her arms were almost severed from her torso, and her face was slashed beyond repair. She had suffered multiple stab wounds to her chest, abdomen, and neck. Blood was everywhere, staining the floor, the walls, and the flowers. The detectives quickly surveyed the scene, looking for clues. They noticed that the shop was in a state of disarray, as if a struggle had taken place. Flower pots were broken, vases were smashed, and petals were scattered. A trail of bloody footprints led from the counter to the back door, indicating that the killer had fled that way. The back door was unlocked, and there were no signs of forced entry. The detectives also spotted the murder weapon, a large cleaver, lying on a table near the door. It was covered in blood and fingerprints. The detectives wondered how the killer had obtained such a weapon and why he had left it behind. They proceeded to collect evidence, taking photos, measurements, and samples. They also interviewed Wally Nathaniel, the delivery boy who had found the body. He was still shaken by the ordeal and could not provide much information. He said he had arrived at the shop around 9:35 a.m. and had found the door slightly open. He had entered calling out Daisy's name and had seen her body. He had run out screaming and had called the police from a nearby payphone. He said he had not seen anyone else around the shop and that he had no idea who would want to kill Daisy. The detectives thanked him for his cooperation and told him they would be in touch. They then contacted the coroner, who arrived shortly after. He examined the body and confirmed that Daisy had died from blood loss due to the multiple stab wounds. He estimated that the time of death was between 9 o'clock and 9:30 a.m. based on the body temperature and rigor mortis. He also noted that Daisy had defensive wounds on her hands, suggesting that she had tried to fight off her attacker. The detectives were puzzled by the motive behind the murder. Daisy Winnow was a well-liked and respected member of the community, with no known enemies or problems. The detectives decided to look into Daisy's personal life, hoping to find some clues. They also hoped to find some witnesses who might have seen or heard something suspicious around the shop that morning. They knew they had a tough case ahead of them, and that time was of the essence. They had to catch the killer before he struck again. The first person that detectives Harrison and Jones-Levy wanted to talk to was Nick Hasselby, Daisy's boyfriend. Nick was a 41-year-old plumber who had met Daisy 6 months ago when he had fixed a leak in her shop. They had hit it off and had started dating soon after. Nick was a handsome and charming man who had a reputation for being a ladies' man. He had been married twice before and had several girlfriends in between. He was also 26 years younger than Daisy, which raised some eyebrows in the town. The detectives wondered if Nick had any motive to kill Daisy. Could he have been after her money or her shop? Could he have been jealous of her relationship with her children or someone else? Could he have been involved in some shady business or had a secret enemy? They decided to find out. They tracked down Nick at his apartment, where he lived alone. They knocked on the door and Nick opened it. He looked surprised to see them and asked them what they wanted. They told him they were investigating Daisy's murder and asked him if he could come with them to the station for some questions. Nick agreed and followed them to their car. At the station, they took Nick to an interrogation room where they asked him about his relationship with Daisy. Nick said he loved Daisy and that they were very happy together. He said he had no idea who would want to kill her or why. He said he had nothing to do with her death and that he was heartbroken by the news. He said he had last seen her the night before, when they had dinner at a local Italian restaurant, and then went back to her place. He said he had left around 11 o'clock p.m. and had gone straight home. He said he had an alibi, his neighbor, who had seen him arrive and leave his apartment. The detectives asked him if he had any problems with Daisy or anyone else. Nick said he had not, and that he got along well with everyone. He said he had no enemies, no debts, no secrets. He said he had a good job and a good life. He said he had nothing to hide. The detectives were not convinced. They pressed him harder, trying to find any inconsistencies or contradictions in his story. They asked him about his past marriages, his previous girlfriends, his financial situation, his hobbies, his friends. They asked him if he had ever been violent or had a criminal record. They asked him if he had ever cheated on Daisy or had any other lovers. They asked him if he had ever argued with Daisy or had any disagreements. They asked him if he knew anyone who might have a grudge against him or Daisy. Nick denied everything. He said he was faithful, honest, and peaceful. He said he had never hurt anyone or done anything wrong. He said he had no enemies, no rivals, no conflicts. He said he only loved Daisy and wanted to be with her. He said he was innocent and begged them to believe him. The detectives were not sure what to think. Nick seemed sincere, but also suspicious. His story was consistent, but also convenient. His alibi was solid, but also shaky. His motive was unclear, but also possible. They decided to keep him under surveillance and to check his background. They also decided to look for other suspects who might have a stronger connection to the crime. While Nick Hasselby remained a prime suspect, the detectives did not rule out other possibilities. They decided to look into the last person who had seen Daisy alive according to the shot's records. That person was Danny Waters, a 24-year-old man who had bought a bouquet of roses from Daisy at 9:15 a.m., just 20 minutes before her body was found. Danny Waters was an odd and lonely figure in the town. He lived with his mother, Carla, who ran a car wash on the outskirts of Torrington. He had no job, no friends, no hobbies. He rarely left his house, except to run errands for his mother or to visit Daisy's shop. He was also illiterate, having never attended school or learned to read or write. The detectives were curious about Danny's relationship with Daisy. Why did he buy roses from her that morning? Who were they for? What did they talk about? Did he notice anything unusual or suspicious? They decided to pay him a visit. They drove to the car wash, where they found Carla Waters working. She was a 49-year-old woman with a stern and weary face. She greeted them coldly and asked them what they wanted. They told her they were investigating Daisy's murder and that they wanted to talk to Danny. Carla said Danny was not home and that he had nothing to do with Daisy's death. She said Danny was a good boy who never hurt anyone. She said Daisy was a nice lady who was kind to Danny. She said they had no reason to kill her. The detectives asked Carla if they could search her house, and she reluctantly agreed. They followed her to a small and shabby house next to the car wash. They entered and were struck by the smell of dirt and decay. They searched the house, looking for any clues or evidence. They found nothing of interest except for a cardboard box in the attic, where Danny slept. Inside the box, they found a pile of books, magazines, and newspapers. They were puzzled by this, since Danny was illiterate. They asked Carla about it, and she said Danny liked to look at the pictures and that he collected them as a hobby. The detectives were not satisfied with this explanation. They took some of the books and magazines with them and left. They took them to the station, where they examined them more closely. They were shocked by what they found. The books and magazines were all about flowers, gardening, and nature. They were all marked with notes written in a childish and clumsy handwriting. The notes were simple words such as rose, sun, love. The detectives realized that these were not just pictures, but lessons. Someone had been teaching Danny to read. They wondered who that someone was, and they had a hunch. They checked the dates and titles of the books and magazines and compared them with Daisy's shop's records. They found a match. Every time Danny had bought flowers from Daisy, he had also received a book or a magazine from her. The detectives had discovered a surprising connection. Daisy, moved by Danny's illiteracy, had been secretly tutoring him in her spare time. She had been giving him books and magazines, along with notes and instructions, to help him learn to read. She had been doing this for months without anyone's knowledge. The detectives were amazed by this revelation. They wondered what Daisy's motive was and what Danny's feelings were. They wondered if this was a platonic or romantic relationship and how Carla felt about it. They wondered if this had anything to do with Daisy's murder. They decided to talk to Danny again and to find out more. The case seemed to hit a dead end as the detectives ran out of leads and suspects. Nick Hasselby and Danny Waters had solid alibis, and no other person had a clear motive or opportunity to kill Daisy. The detectives were frustrated and desperate as the media and the public demanded answers. Then, a ray of hope. A forensic technician, working on the fingerprint analysis, found a match. A single print left on the cleaver that was used as the murder weapon belonged to none other than Carla Waters, Danny's mother. The detectives were stunned by this discovery. Carla Waters had not been on their radar as she had no apparent connection to Daisy, except for being Danny's mother. She had also cooperated with the police and had allowed them to search her house. She had seemed indifferent rather than suspicious. The detectives wondered what Carla's motive was and how and why she had pulled off the crime. They decided to confront her and to get some answers. The fingerprint match was a game changer for the detectives. They had a new suspect and a new lead. They decided to dig deeper into Carla Waters' background and to find out what she was hiding. Carla Waters was a 49-year-old woman who had lived in Torrington all her life. She had never married and had raised Danny on her own. She ran a car wash on the edge of town, which she had inherited from her father. She was a quiet and reserved person who kept to herself and rarely socialized. She was also fiercely protective of Danny, who she considered her only reason for living. The detectives also learned that Carla had a troubled past, marked by trauma and abuse. She had become pregnant with Danny at 15. She had never told anyone about it, and had given birth to Danny in secret. Carla had developed a twisted form of maternal obsession, bordering on abuse. She had isolated Danny from the world and had denied him any education, socialization, or normalcy. She had forced him to eat only raw barley like a horse and had made him sleep naked in a cardboard box in the attic. She had controlled every aspect of his life and had convinced him that she was the only person who loved him and cared for him. The detectives also learned that Carla had a paranoid and delusional personality fueled by her guilt and fear. She had believed that Danny and Daisy were having sex and that they were plotting to kill her. She had spied on them and had seen them exchanging books and notes. She had misinterpreted their innocent gestures as signs of betrayal and conspiracy. She had become consumed by an irrational jealousy and had decided to take matters into her own hands. The detectives had enough evidence to arrest Carla and to confront her with the truth. They went to her house, where they found her sitting on the couch, watching a replay of Donahue. She looked calm and composed, as if nothing had happened. She greeted them politely and asked them what they wanted. They told her they had a warrant for her arrest and that they knew she had killed Daisy. They showed her the fingerprint match and the books and notes they had found in Danny's box. Carla's demeanor changed instantly. She became agitated and defensive and denied everything. She said they had no proof and that they were lying. She said she had nothing to do with Daisy's death and that she loved Danny more than anything. She said Danny and Daisy were the ones who had killed her and that they were trying to frame her. She said they were evil and that she deserved to die. The detectives were shocked by Carla's reaction. They realized that she was mentally unstable and that she had no remorse or regret. They handcuffed her and took her to their car. They also called Danny and told him what had happened. Danny was speechless and could not believe that his mother was the killer. He said he was sorry for Daisy and that he had no idea what his mother had done. The detectives had solved the case, but they had also uncovered a dark and tragic story. A story of a mother's love gone wrong and a son's life ruined. A story of a woman's madness and a town's horror. A story of a flower's beauty and a murder's brutality. The trial of Carla Waters began on March 15, 1982 at the Litchfield County Courthouse. The judge presiding over the case was William Balls, a respected and experienced jurist. The prosecutor was Emily Carter, a young and ambitious assistant district attorney. The defense attorney was Thomas Hines, a seasoned and skillful public defender. The prosecution's case was built on the fingerprint evidence, the books and notes found in Danny's box, and the testimony of Danny and the detectives. Emily Carter portrayed Carla as a cold-blooded and calculating killer who had planned and executed the murder of Daisy Winnow out of a twisted sense of control over her son. She argued that Carla had acted with premeditation and malice, and that she deserved the maximum penalty, life imprisonment without parole. The defense's case was based on Carla's mental state, her abusive past, and her lack of criminal record. Thomas Hines argued that Carla was a mentally ill and traumatized woman who had suffered from a psychotic break and had acted under the influence of a delusion. He pleaded for the jury's mercy and compassion and asked them to consider a lesser charge, manslaughter. The trial lasted for 2 weeks and was filled with dramatic and emotional moments. Daisy's friends and colleagues testified about her kindness and generosity and expressed their grief and outrage. Danny testified about his mother's abuse and his relationship with Daisy and broke down in tears. Carla testified in her own defense and maintained her innocence and her delusion and showed no remorse or empathy. The jury, composed of 6 men and 6 women, deliberated for 3 days. They reviewed the evidence, the testimonies, and the arguments. They weighed the facts, the emotions, and the law. They debated, argued, and voted. Finally, they reached a unanimous verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. The verdict was announced on March 29, 1982 at 4:15 p.m. The courtroom was silent as the jury foreman read the verdict. Then a wave of reactions swept the room. Some gasped, some sobbed, some cheered. Carla Waters showed no reaction and remained expressionless. Judge Bowles thanked the jury for their service and pronounced the sentence, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. He ordered Carla to be taken away and adjourned the court. For Daisy's family, the verdict was a bittersweet closure. They finally learned the truth about their mother's final days and saw justice done. But they also felt the pain of their estrangement and the loss of their chance to reconcile. They hugged each other and vowed to stay in touch. The trial of Carla Waters was over, but the aftermath of her crime was not. The lives of those affected by her actions were forever changed, and they had to find a way to move on. Danny Waters, the son of the killer and the friend of the victim, faced the most challenges. He had been freed from his mother's tyranny, but he had also lost the only person who had shown him kindness and compassion. He had to deal with the trauma of his past and the uncertainty of his future. He had to learn to read, to work, to live. He did not have to do it alone, though. He received extensive therapy and support from the community, who rallied around him and offered him help and hope. He also received a generous donation from Daisy's family, who forgave him and wished him well. He eventually found a job at a local bookstore, where he developed a passion for reading and learning. He also found love and married a young woman who accepted him for who he was. He had a son, whom he named Carl after Daisy's late husband. He never forgot Daisy and kept a picture of her in his wallet. He visited her grave every year and thanked her for changing his life. Detectives Harrison and Jones-Levy, the heroes of the case, also faced some challenges. They had witnessed one of the most tragic and twisted stories of human nature. They had seen the best and the worst of humanity, and they had been affected by it. They continued their careers, but they also sought counseling and support. They vowed to bring justice to victims and closure to their families, but they also learned to cope with their own emotions and stress. They remained partners and became friends. The town of Torrington, the scene of the crime, also faced some challenges. It had been shaken by the events of that winter and had lost some of its innocence and security. It had to deal with the stigma and the sorrow, and to rebuild its reputation and its spirit. It did not have to do it alone, though. It received support and sympathy from neighboring towns and cities, who offered their condolences and assistance. It also received recognition and praise from the state and the nation, who applauded its resilience and courage. It gradually healed and regained its peace and harmony. Daisy's flower shop, now owned by a young couple who had admired her work, remained a landmark, a silent reminder of the vibrant life cut short and the enduring complexities of the human condition. The case of Daisy Winnow serves as a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and the darkness within the human heart can manifest in unexpected forms. It is a story of love, loss, twisted obsession, and the lengths some are willing to go to in the name of a warped perception of control. It is a story that leaves a lasting impact, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of tragedy, an enduring search for truth and justice. Annabeth Rinaldi, a 39-year-old marketing executive, resided in Round Rock, Texas, a fast-growing suburb of Austin. Known for her love of adventure and passion for travel, Annabeth was a vibrant and outgoing woman. Her colleagues respected her for her creativity and determination. Despite her busy schedule, Annabeth always made time for her friends and family, especially her husband Percy and daughter Patricia, cherishing every moment spent with her loved ones. In August of 2010, Annabeth's life seemed to be at its peak. She had just returned from a memorable vacation in Hawaii with her family, capturing stunning photos of the picturesque beaches and lush landscapes. Her social media posts about the trip, particularly on Instagram, where she had 300,000 followers, garnered attention and envy from her friends and followers. Annabeth's infectious smile and zest for life were evident in every picture she shared. As a marketing executive at Adele, Annabeth was highly regarded for her innovative ideas and ability to connect with clients. Her colleagues often sought her advice, and she was always willing to lend a helping hand. Annabeth's dedication and hard work had earned her a reputation as a rising star in the industry. Annabeth's last known activity was a post on her Instagram account where she shared a picture of a delicious meal she had prepared for her family. The post was time-stamped just hours before her tragic demise. Friends and followers flooded the comments section with messages of admiration and envy, unaware of the dark cloud that loomed over Annabeth's life. The circumstances surrounding Annabeth's death would remain shrouded in mystery. Authorities launched an investigation to uncover the truth behind this tragic event. As we delve deeper into this case, we will explore the evidence, key suspects, and the events leading up to that fateful night. Stay tuned as we continue our investigation into the mysterious death of Annabeth Rinaldi. On the scorching night of August 24, 2010, tragedy struck the quiet McMansions of Round Rock, Texas, when the life of Annabeth Rinaldi, a vibrant and outgoing 39-year-old marketing executive, came to a sudden and tragic end. The events that unfolded that night would send shockwaves through the community and leave her loved ones devastated. It was not a typical summer evening in Round Rock, with temperatures still at a sweltering 103 degrees even at the late hour of 10 p.m. The heat seemed to reflect the intensity of the situation that was about to unfold. Annabeth's husband, Percy Rinaldi, had just returned home from a business trip to Dallas, looking forward to spending a quiet evening with his wife and their teenage daughter, Patricia. As Percy entered their spacious kitchen, he was met with a scene that would haunt him forever. There, lying lifeless on the cool tile floor, was Annabeth. Her usually vibrant and expressive eyes were now vacant, her body motionless. Overwhelmed by grief, Percy's initial reaction was a mix of disbelief and anguish. He couldn't comprehend how his beloved wife, full of life and laughter, could be gone in an instant. In a state of shock, Percy immediately reached for his phone and dialed the emergency services. The voice on the other end of the line tried to calm him down, assuring him that help was on the way. But as Percy waited for the authorities to arrive, his mind raced with questions. What had happened to Annabeth? Was it an accident or something more sinister? Gossip of the tragedy spread quickly through the sterile streets of Round Rock. Neighbors gathered outside the Rinaldi residence, their faces etched with concern and disbelief. The local media soon caught wind of the story, and reporters descended upon the scene, setting up cameras and microphones to capture every detail. The name Annabeth Rinaldi became synonymous with tragedy, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life. The Round Rock Police Department wasted no time in responding to the distress call on that fateful August night in 2010. Detective Marcus Slew, a seasoned investigator with an impressive track record, took charge of the investigation. Accompanied by his dedicated team, they arrived at Annabeth Rinaldi's residence, ready to unravel the mysteries that lay within. The scene that greeted them was both perplexing and unsettling. Annabeth's home, located in the rapidly growing suburb of Round Rock, stood as a silent witness to the tragedy that had unfolded. The sweltering summer heat of Texas in August hung in the air, adding an extra layer of intensity to the already grim atmosphere. The investigators meticulously combed through every inch of the crime scene, leaving no stone unturned. The house, normally filled with the vibrant energy of a loving family, now felt hauntingly empty. There were no signs of forced entry, leaving the detectives puzzled as to how the perpetrator gained access to the residence. The attention to detail displayed by Detective Slew's team was commendable. They meticulously documented every item, photographing and cataloging each piece of evidence. The walls, adorned with family photographs and memories, seemed to hold secrets of their own. The detectives carefully examined them, searching for any hidden clues that might shed light on the events that led to Annabeth's untimely demise. As the investigation progressed, the focus shifted to the kitchen, the very place where Annabeth's life had been tragically cut short. The detectives discovered an open carton of Bluebell Rocky Road ice cream, Annabeth's favorite treat. It was here that the chilling truth was revealed. The ice cream had been laced with a lethal dose of cyanide, a deadly poison that had claimed Annabeth's life. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community, leaving residents in disbelief. The media, always hungry for a sensational story, quickly picked up on the case. The Round Rock Police Department found themselves under immense pressure to solve the case and bring justice to Annabeth Rinaldi. Percy Rinaldi, a 48-year-old financial advisor and husband of the late Annabeth Rinaldi, found himself at the center of a chilling crime investigation. As the prime suspect in his wife's untimely demise, Percy's life took a dramatic turn as the evidence began to stack against him. Known for his calm and collected demeanor, Percy Rinaldi was a respected member of the community. Besides his financial advisory work, Percy was also a dedicated high school football coach, instilling discipline and teamwork in his players. Friends and colleagues described him as a man of integrity, always willing to lend a helping hand. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic life, a darker side emerged. Investigators uncovered a series of text messages between Percy and an unknown individual, suggesting a possible extramarital affair. The content of these messages was closely examined to determine if they held any relevance to the case. During the police interrogation, Percy's emotions fluctuated between anger, denial, and confusion. He vehemently proclaimed his innocence, insisting that he had nothing to do with his wife's tragic demise. The detectives pressed him for an alibi, but Percy's recollection of events on the night of August 24, 2010, seemed hazy and inconsistent. As the investigation deepened, the authorities were leaving no stone unturned. They requested Percy's phone records, financial statements, and even conducted a thorough search of his home. Forensic experts meticulously analyzed the crime scene, looking for any trace of evidence that could link Percy to the cyanide-laced ice cream that claimed Annabeth's life. As the investigation continues, the focus remains on Percy Rinaldi. Will the evidence prove his guilt, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Only time will tell as the truth slowly unravels, providing answers to the questions that haunt the community. As the investigation into the tragic death of Annabeth Rinaldi unfolded, another potential suspect emerged: Patricia Rinaldi, her rebellious teenage daughter. Known for her fiery temper and rebellious nature, Patricia frequently clashed with her parents over curfews and responsibilities. The tension within the Rinaldi household had been palpable in the weeks leading up to Annabeth's untimely demise. Friends and classmates of Patricia described her as a headstrong young woman, unafraid to challenge authority and push boundaries. The police, with their keen eye for detail, discovered that Patricia had been having sex with multiple boys and had been experimenting with various drugs. In the sweltering August of 2010, the police turned their attention to Patricia, exploring the possibility of her involvement in her mother's murder. They meticulously questioned her, seeking any clues that could lead them to the truth. Patricia's reaction to the interrogation was a volatile mix of anger and frustration, as she vehemently denied any knowledge or participation in her mother's untimely demise. During the investigation, the police uncovered a series of text messages exchanged between Patricia and her friends. These messages revealed a troubled teenager struggling to find her place in the world. Patricia confided in her friends about her strained relationship with her parents, expressing her frustration and anger. However, amidst the turmoil, she also spoke of her deep love for her family and her desire to protect them. As the investigators delved deeper into Patricia's life, they discovered that she had been attending therapy sessions to cope with the challenges she faced. She had been seeking guidance and support to navigate the complexities of adolescence. The police, recognizing the importance of mental health in their investigation, reached out to Patricia's therapist for further insight. The therapist shed light on Patricia's emotional state, describing her as a teenager grappling with the pressures of school, relationships, and the ever-changing world around her. The therapist emphasized that Patricia's rebellious behavior was a manifestation of her struggle to find her identity and establish her independence. As the investigation into Patricia Rinaldi's potential involvement in the tragic death of her mother continued, the community held its breath, waiting for the truth to be unveiled. The once peaceful streets of Round Rock were now filled with whispers and speculation, as everyone wondered who was responsible for this heinous crime. The focus of the investigation swiftly shifted to David Michelson, a 32-year-old graphic designer who worked alongside Annabeth Rinaldi at Dell in Round Rock, Texas. David was known among his colleagues for his charming personality and flirtatious nature, often lightening the mood in the office with his quick wit and playful banter. However, beneath his seemingly affable exterior, a darker side lurked. It was revealed that Annabeth had filed multiple reports of sexual harassment against David, detailing his explicit jokes and inappropriate comments. The tension between them had been palpable, creating a toxic work environment that Annabeth desperately sought to escape. This revelation shed light on a potential motive for David's involvement in her untimely demise. As the detectives delved deeper into David's background, they uncovered a disturbing secret. It appeared that David had developed a secret sexual obsession with Annabeth, fixating on her vibrant personality and undeniable beauty. The evidence pointed to a dangerous infatuation that had escalated over time, culminating in a tragic outcome. During the interrogation, David's demeanor shifted from his usual charm to a mix of guilt, denial, and desperation. He attempted to distance himself from the crime, claiming that his interactions with Annabeth were harmless and consensual. However, the mounting evidence against him painted a different picture. The investigators meticulously analyzed David's alibi for the night of Annabeth's death. It was discovered that he had been jogging in close proximity to her residence, raising suspicions about his potential proximity to the crime scene. Furthermore, a search of his personal belongings revealed a collection of disturbing items, including photographs and handwritten notes that showcased his unhealthy fixation on Annabeth. The police worked tirelessly to connect the dots, building a compelling case against David Michelson. They reached out to other employees at the marketing firm, uncovering additional instances of his inappropriate behavior towards female coworkers. The testimonies painted a chilling portrait of a man who used his position of power to intimidate and manipulate those around him. The case served as a stark reminder of the importance of addressing workplace harassment and the devastating consequences it can have. The true mastermind behind the tragic death of Annabeth Raldi had finally been revealed. Patricia Raldi, the 18-year-old daughter of the victim, was identified as the perpetrator of the heinous poisoning death of her mother. Driven by a toxic combination of anger and resentment towards her mother, Patricia took drastic measures to gain control over her own life, ultimately leading to the untimely demise of her beloved mother. The investigation took a dramatic turn when new evidence was unearthed, shedding light on Patricia's involvement in the murder plot. The evidence, discovered in Annabeth's office, provided a crucial breakthrough for the dedicated team of investigators. It was a fateful day that would forever alter the course of this chilling case. However, as the police delved deeper into the evidence, they uncovered a disturbing connection between Patricia and David Michelson, a graphic designer and Annabeth's co-worker. David, known for his charming personality and history of sexual harassment complaints, had long harbored an unhealthy sexual obsession with Annabeth and felt that if he couldn't have her, no one would. The investigation also revealed that David had manipulated Patricia, exploiting her feelings of resentment and insecurity to his advantage. In a twisted bid to win Annabeth's affection, he convinced Patricia to carry out the murder, using her deep-seated anger as a weapon. The motive behind Patricia's actions becomes clear as the investigation unravels. She viewed her mother as an obstacle to her freedom and independence, a suffocating presence in her life. Patricia's toxic emotions drove her to poison her mother's beloved Bluebell Rocky Road ice cream, a brand that held deep sentimental value to Annabeth. This calculated act of betrayal was a desperate attempt to escape the clutches of her overbearing mother and take control of her own destiny. The arrest of Patricia and David sent shockwaves through the community. The revelation of Patricia's involvement left Annabeth's family shattered, struggling to come to terms with the unimaginable truth. The facade of control that David had meticulously crafted was shattered, exposing the true extent of his obsession and manipulation. As this harrowing case reaches its conclusion, the tragic tale of Annabeth Raldi serves as a stark reminder that darkness can lurk in the most unexpected places, even within the confines of a suburban home in Round Rock, Texas. The trial of Patricia Raldi, the daughter accused of poisoning her mother, Annabeth Raldi, with cyanide-laced Bluebell Rocky Road ice cream, captivated the courtroom. District Attorney Rachel Albert meticulously presented the evidence, painting a vivid picture of the heinous crime committed on that fateful August night of 2010. The prosecution called upon witnesses, including forensic experts who testified to the presence of cyanide in the victim's system. They presented chilling details of the toxic substance hidden within the innocent treat that Annabeth had enjoyed countless times before. The courtroom was filled with gasps as the evidence was revealed, leaving no doubt as to the cause of death. Defense attorney Stephen Marco fought tooth and nail to cast doubt on the evidence presented by the prosecution. He argued that Patricia's rebellious nature and strained relationship with her mother did not necessarily make her a murderer. Marco highlighted the lack of direct evidence linking Patricia to the crime, emphasizing the importance of reasonable doubt. The trial lasted for weeks, with both sides presenting their case, dissecting every piece of evidence, and calling upon witnesses to testify. The emotional toll on Annabeth's family was evident as they sat in the courtroom, their eyes filled with a mix of hope and despair. Finally, after hours of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the foreperson stood to deliver the verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant, Patricia Rinaldi, guilty of first-degree murder, the foreperson declared, the words echoing through the courtroom. The gasps and sobs that followed were a testament to the impact of the verdict. Annabeth's family, already devastated by her tragic death, found some solace in the knowledge that justice had been served. Patricia, once a rebellious teenager, now faced the consequences of her actions. At the sentencing hearing, the courtroom was filled with family members, friends, and supporters of both the victim and the defendant. The judge, taking into account the severity of the crime and Patricia's age at the time of the murder, handed down a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a harsh sentence for so young a perpetrator. The courtroom fell silent as the weight of the sentence sank in. Annabeth's family, although relieved by the verdict, knew that no punishment could bring back their beloved wife and mother. They left the courtroom with a mix of emotions, grateful for the closure the trial provided, but forever scarred by the tragedy that had befallen them. In the wake of the highly publicized trial, the lives of those involved were forever altered. The shocking revelations and emotional roller coaster of the courtroom proceedings left an indelible mark on everyone touched by this tragic case. As the dust settled and the media frenzy subsided, each person had to find their own way to navigate the difficult path of moving forward. Percy Rinaldi, once a pillar of strength, now carried the weight of grief on his shoulders. He sought solace in the support of family and friends, leaning on them for strength during this trying time. Patricia Rinaldi, the daughter who had been at the center of the shocking revelation, struggled to come to terms with her role in her mother's death. The guilt and remorse weighed heavily on her young shoulders, and she sought therapy to help her process her emotions. Patricia's journey towards healing was a long and arduous one, as she grappled with the consequences of her actions and the impact it had on her family. Detective Marcus Smil, the lead investigator who had tirelessly worked to unravel the truth, found himself reflecting on the case long after the trial had ended. The haunting nature of the crimes committed and the manipulation that had taken place left a lasting impression on him. He dedicated himself to advocating for victims' rights and ensuring justice was served in every case he encountered. As August of 2010 came to a close, the annals of true crime history had recorded another chilling chapter, and the name Annabeth Rinaldi would forever be etched in the collective memory. The tragic story of Annabeth Rinaldi's murder captivated a community and exposed the dark underbelly of human emotions. Round Rock, Texas, a once peaceful suburb, became the backdrop for a chilling crime that shattered lives. As we close this chapter, we are left contemplating the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of unchecked emotions. Daniel "Danny" Miller, a 45-year-old high school history teacher, was known for his engaging storytelling and unwavering dedication to his students. Residing in Springfield, Missouri, Daniel led a seemingly ordinary life. Beyond his profession, he found solace in his passion for gardening and cherished his role as a devoted father to his 2 children. His amicable nature endeared him to the community, but beneath the surface, rumors swirled about his wife's infidelities, casting a shadow over his personal life. In October 2009, the town of Springfield was abuzz with excitement as the annual Harvest Festival drew near. The streets were adorned with colorful leaves, and the crisp autumn air carried the scent of pumpkin spice. Families flocked to the local pumpkin patch to pick the perfect pumpkins for carving, while children eagerly awaited the haunted hayrides and corn mazes. Daniel Miller, being an avid gardener, was particularly fond of this time of year. He would spend his weekends tending to his lush backyard garden, carefully tilling the soil and nurturing his vibrant collection of flowers and vegetables. His garden was a sanctuary, a place where he could escape the stress of his teaching job and find solace in nature's beauty. Despite his seemingly idyllic life, whispers of trouble had begun to circulate through the town. It was rumored that Daniel's wife, Linda, had been seen in the company of other men. Gossip spread like wildfire, fueled by the small-town grapevine and the insatiable hunger for scandalous tales, and Linda soon became known as the town harlot. As the days grew shorter and the nights grew colder, tensions mounted within the Miller household. The once happy couple found themselves entangled in a web of suspicion and mistrust. Friends and neighbors noticed the strain in their relationship, but no one could have predicted the tragic turn of events that would soon unfold. In the quiet town of Springfield, Missouri, a shocking event unfolded that would send ripples through the community. On the fateful day of October 28, 2009, the sun began to set, casting an eerie glow over the neighborhood. The air was heavy with anticipation, as if the universe itself sensed something was amiss. It was Linda Miller, wife of the beloved high school history teacher Daniel Miller, who made the chilling discovery. As she entered their home, a sense of unease settled upon her. Little did she know that her life was about to be forever changed. Linda's footsteps echoed through the hallway as she made her way towards the bathroom. The door creaked open, revealing a sight that would haunt her dreams for years to come. There, sitting on the toilet, was the lifeless body of her husband, Daniel. A gasp escaped Linda's lips as she stumbled backward, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. How could this happen? Questions flooded her mind, but the answers remained elusive. The room was frozen in time, as if the walls themselves held their breath. The silence was deafening, broken only by Linda's anguished sobs. She reached for her phone, trembling fingers dialing the emergency number. The authorities needed to be notified, and quickly. As Linda waited for help to arrive, her mind raced with memories of happier times. She recalled Daniel's infectious laughter and his dedication to his students. How could someone so full of life meet such a tragic end? News of Daniel Miller's death spread like wildfire throughout the town. The local media buzzed with speculation, eager to uncover the truth behind this mysterious incident. Reporters from the Springfield Gazette and the Evening News arrived at the scene, cameras flashing and microphones poised. Detectives from the Springfield Police Department meticulously combed through the bathroom for any clues that could shed light on what had transpired. The room was meticulously analyzed, from the toothpaste brand on the sink to the magazines scattered on the floor. Every detail mattered in their quest for justice. As the investigation unfolded, the town of Springfield held its breath, anxiously awaiting answers. Who would want to harm Daniel Miller, a man loved and respected by all? And what secrets lay hidden beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic community? The police officers arrived at the scene with a sense of urgency, ready to uncover the truth behind the untimely demise of Daniel Miller. Leading the investigation was Detective Huey "Ducky" Hughes, a seasoned investigator known for his sharp instincts and attention to detail. Together with his team, they meticulously combed through the crime scene, leaving no stone unturned in their quest for justice. As they entered the bathroom, the officers were met with a chilling sight. The room, once a place of privacy and solace, had been transformed into a macabre scene of death. Bloodstains and a copious amount of blood stained the toilet, indicating violent, bloody, and ultimately fatal diarrhea, a stark contrast to the otherwise pristine surroundings. The officers carefully documented each bloodstain, taking photographs and making detailed notes, ensuring that no piece of evidence went unnoticed. The weapon used in this heinous crime was a lethal dose of antifreeze, cunningly mixed into Daniel's favorite evening drink, sweet iced tea. The investigators found the empty bottle of antifreeze in the kitchen, discarded among other household cleaning supplies. They meticulously collected fingerprints and DNA samples from the bottle, hoping to find a match that would lead them to the perpetrator. As they continued their search for clues, the investigators discovered a torn piece of paper on the bathroom floor. It appeared to be a note, but the words were barely legible. With the help of forensic experts, they carefully pieced together the torn fragments, revealing a cryptic message. The note mentioned a meeting with a divorce lawyer, scheduled for the day of the crime. This discovery sparked a new lead, and the investigators wasted no time in following it up. The investigation into the murder of Daniel Miller was a complex puzzle, with each piece of evidence leading the detectives closer to the truth. The meticulousness and determination of Detective Huey "Ducky" Hughes and his team would prove crucial in solving this chilling crime. In the small town of Springfield, Missouri, back in October of 2009, a shocking crime took place that left the community in disbelief. The victim, Daniel Miller, was a well-liked high school history teacher known for his captivating storytelling and dedication to his students. But behind the facade of a seemingly ordinary life, dark secrets lurked, and it was his wife, Linda Miller, who found herself at the center of the investigation. Linda, a 42-year-old ambitious real estate agent, had always been known for her charm and persuasive skills. Her career had taken off, but unfortunately, her commitment to her family had suffered as a result. Tensions had been building in the Miller household, exacerbated by Linda's habit of serving microwave meals that Daniel despised. The couple's relationship had already been strained by rumors of Linda's extramarital affairs, which had spread like wildfire through the tight-knit community. During the investigation, Linda dropped a bombshell revelation that sent shockwaves through the town. She claimed that Daniel had been having sex with his best friend, Tom Richards. This revelation added another layer of complexity to the case, leaving the police puzzled and questioning the depths of Linda's involvement. The police interrogated Linda, observing her every move and change in demeanor. At times, she appeared angry, lashing out at the investigators with frustration. Other times, she seemed calm and composed, as if she had nothing to hide. But there was something else, an underlying emotion that flickered in her eyes, leaving the investigators curious about what secrets she might be concealing. The media frenzy surrounding the case grew, with local newspapers and television stations covering every twist and turn. The town of Springfield, usually known for its blandly peaceful atmosphere, was now gripped by fear and suspicion. People whispered in hushed tones, speculating about who could be responsible for such a heinous act. As the days turned into weeks, the town of Springfield held its breath, waiting for answers. The investigation into the murder of Daniel Miller had taken a dramatic turn, and the focus now shifted to Linda Miller, the woman at the center of it all. Tom Richards, a 55-year-old mechanic with a rugged and charismatic demeanor, became the next person of interest in the investigation into the tragic demise of Danny Miller. As Daniel's best friend, Tom's connection to the victim raised eyebrows and suspicions among the investigators. The police delved into Tom's background, meticulously examining his every move and interaction with Daniel and Linda Miller. Tom vehemently denied any sexual involvement with Daniel, but he did admit to a tumultuous relationship with the victim. The detectives focused on the moments leading up to Daniel's death, searching for any clues that could shed light on the truth. They delved into their friendship, peeling back the layers of their bond to uncover any hidden tensions or unresolved conflicts. During the investigation, Tom's reactions ranged from anger to calmness, leaving the detectives perplexed. They carefully observed his every word and gesture, searching for any signs of guilt or deception. The investigators knew that the truth often lurked in the unspoken secrets and hidden emotions that lay beneath the surface. As the detectives dug deeper, they discovered that Tom and Linda Miller had a history of confrontations. These incidents added fuel to the fire of suspicion surrounding Tom. The investigators wondered if these conflicts had escalated to a point where Tom would seek revenge against his best friend, or if Linda was trying to blackmail her enemy. The police also explored Tom's alibi for the time of Daniel's death. They meticulously pieced together his movements, cross-referencing them with witness testimonies and surveillance footage from local establishments. The investigators left no stone unturned, determined to uncover the truth behind Daniel's tragic demise. As the investigation into Tom Richards continued, the detectives found themselves entangled in a web of secrets and lies. They knew that the truth was out there, waiting to be unraveled. But would they be able to piece together the puzzle and bring justice to Daniel Miller? In the midst of the investigation into the tragic demise of Danny Miller, the police made a crucial breakthrough. It was a cold, early November day when snow, early for the season, began to fall, adding to the tension that gripped the investigators and the community. The discovery of this new evidence found hidden in the woods outside Springfield offered a glimmer of hope in uncovering the truth behind the heinous crime. The police painstakingly analyzed the newfound piece of the puzzle, an abandoned hard drive, leaving no stone unturned. They meticulously combed through the evidence, extracting vital information that would propel the investigation forward. The details were shocking and disturbing, shedding light on a dark secret that had been lurking beneath the surface. The evidence revealed that someone had been sexually targeting Danny's class, engaging in sexual activities with over half of the students, both male and female. The sexual encounters took place both inside and outside the school premises, exposing a dark underbelly that had remained hidden from the community's gaze. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community and raised alarming questions about the safety and well-being of the students. The police immediately reached out to the school authorities, who cooperated fully in the investigation. News of the shocking revelation spread like wildfire throughout Springfield, leaving parents and community members in a state of disbelief. The local media, including the Springfield Gazette and the town's radio station, dedicated extensive coverage to the case, urging anyone with information to come forward. The town was gripped with fear and anger, as parents grappled with the unsettling realization that their children had been involved in such salacious acts. As the investigation delved deeper into this disturbing aspect of the case, the police vowed to bring the predator to justice and ensure the safety of the students. They worked tirelessly, aiming to unravel the web of secrets and uncover the identity of the predator who had tarnished the purity of Springfield's teens. In the ongoing investigation into the tragic death of Daniel Miller, a high school history teacher from Springfield, Missouri, the police turned their attention to a surprising new suspect. Laura Day Davis, a senior student known for her empathy and leadership skills, became a person of interest in this puzzling case. Laura, a young woman on the cusp of adulthood, had been an active participant in Daniel's history class, where she displayed a deep admiration for her teacher. However, as the investigation unfolded, shocking revelations came to light about Laura's connection to Linda Miller, Daniel's wife. It appeared that Laura had been involved in a sexual relationship with Linda, a fact that had remained hidden from the community until now. This revelation has raised eyebrows and led investigators to question whether Laura's feelings of jealousy and revenge could have played a role in Daniel's untimely demise. During the police interrogation, Laura's emotions fluctuated, revealing a complex mix of anger, calmness, and something else entirely. The investigators carefully observed her every word and gesture, searching for clues that could shed light on her involvement in this tragic event. As the investigation deepened, it became apparent that Linda Miller had been sexually involved with numerous students in Danny's class, both male and female, in what appeared to be a vengeful act against her husband's perceived infidelity with Tom Richards, Daniel's best friend. This tangled web of relationships and secrets left investigators grappling with the true motives behind Daniel's murder. In November of 2009, the small community of Springfield was gripped by the shocking revelations surrounding the investigation. News outlets, such as the local newspaper the Springfield Gazette, covered the story extensively, leaving residents astounded by the depth of deceit and betrayal that had unfolded within their midst. In November of 2009, the investigation into the brutal murder of Daniel Miller took a shocking turn. The diligent work of the police led them to uncover the true mastermind behind this heinous crime. It was none other than Linda Miller, the wife of the victim. Linda, a 42-year-old ambitious real estate agent, had carefully orchestrated this sinister plot. Motivated by a desire for complete control over their assets and the freedom to continue her illicit relationships, Linda saw Daniel as an obstacle to her happiness and financial independence. She had meticulously planned every detail, ensuring that her involvement remained hidden from prying eyes. With the evidence mounting against her, the police had no choice but to apprehend Linda. On that fateful day, the authorities descended upon her, just as the sun began to set over their quiet suburban neighborhood. The scene was reminiscent of a dramatic movie, with police cars lining the streets and flashing lights illuminating the darkening sky. As Linda was escorted out of her home, the media swarmed around, hungry for the details of this shocking revelation. News cameras captured the moment, broadcasting it to households across the city. Headlines blared with the news of a wife's betrayal and a husband's tragic demise, capturing the attention of a captivated audience. The arrest itself was not without its own drama. Linda's emotions were a whirlwind, as she displayed a range of reactions. Her face, once composed and confident, now contorted with a mix of anger, fear, and disbelief. The media captured every fleeting expression, ensuring that the world witnessed the downfall of a woman who had once seemed so charming and successful. As Linda was led away, the police were left to ponder the depths of her involvement. The investigation had uncovered a web of lies, deceit, and betrayal, leaving the community shaken to its core. The small town of Springfield, Missouri, would forever be marked by this tragic event. In November of 2009, the courtroom became the center stage for justice as the trial of Linda Miller, the accused murderer of Daniel Miller, unfolded. The trial was a gripping spectacle that captivated the nation's attention. People from all walks of life tuned in to watch the proceedings, eager to see if justice would prevail. The prosecution, led by seasoned lawyer J. Roy, meticulously presented their case against Linda. They called numerous witnesses, including detectives, forensic experts, and even Daniel's close friends, who testified about Linda's troubled marriage and her alleged extramarital affairs. The evidence against Linda was overwhelming, with the prosecution unveiling phone records, emails, and even surveillance footage that painted a damning picture of her involvement in the crime. On the other side of the courtroom, defense attorney Sarah Claxon Roberts fought fiercely to protect her client's interests. She argued that the evidence presented by the prosecution was circumstantial and failed to prove Linda's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Claxon Roberts attempted to cast doubt on the credibility of the witnesses and questioned the validity of the forensic evidence. The trial lasted for several weeks, with both sides presenting their closing arguments to the jury. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the jurors deliberated over Linda's fate. After hours of careful consideration, the jury reached a unanimous verdict. Linda Miller was found guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom erupted in a mix of emotions: relief for Daniel's family and friends, and shock for Linda and her supporters. The judge, known for his no-nonsense approach, wasted no time in delivering the sentence. Linda was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom fell silent as the weight of the verdict sank in. Linda's fate was sealed, and she would spend the rest of her days behind bars, paying for the heinous crime she committed. As the trial came to a close, the media frenzy surrounding the case slowly subsided. The Miller family, though forever scarred by the tragedy, found solace in the fact that justice had been served. The community of Springfield, Missouri, rallied around them, offering support and condolences during this difficult time. In the end, the trial of Linda Miller served as a stark reminder of the fragility of human relationships and the devastating consequences of betrayal. It was a chapter in history that would forever be etched in the memories of those who lived through it. After the dramatic conclusion of the trial, the lives of those involved took different paths as they tried to find a sense of normalcy in the aftermath of the shocking events. The suspects, the police, and the victim's family all faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives, forever impacted by the betrayal and tragedy that unfolded. Linda Miller, the mastermind behind the heinous crime, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She was transferred to the Missouri State Penitentiary, a maximum security facility known for housing some of the state's most dangerous criminals. The community, still reeling from the shocking revelations, found some solace in knowing that justice had been served. Detective Huey "Ducky" Hughes and his team, hailed as heroes for their relentless pursuit of the truth, continued their work in the Springfield Police Department. Their dedication and meticulousness in solving Daniel Miller's murder earned them accolades from their superiors and the community. The victim's family, devastated by their loss, sought solace in their memories of Daniel and the support of their friends and neighbors. They held a private memorial service at the Green Lawn Funeral Home, where family and friends gathered to pay their respects. The service was marked by tears, heartfelt eulogies, and a sense of unity among those who loved Daniel. As the years passed, the community slowly healed from the wounds inflicted by the tragedy. Springfield, known for its vibrant community spirit, rallied together to support the Miller family and remember Daniel's legacy as a beloved teacher. The local high school, where Daniel had taught for many years, established a scholarship in his honor, ensuring that his passion for education would live on. As the years went by, the wounds slowly healed, but the memory of Daniel Miller and the tragic events surrounding his murder remained etched in the collective consciousness of the Springfield community. The story served as a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing those we hold dear. And there you have it, the haunting tale of betrayal and murder that unfolded in Springfield, Missouri. The web of secrets, lies, and infidelity tore apart the lives of those involved. Our unfortunate victim is Lacey Cavalcante, a vibrant and outgoing 23-year-old woman. Lacey, originally from Newark, New Jersey, had relocated to Medford, Oregon to escape a difficult family life. Her father's sentence for 75 years in prison for involvement with the mafia had forced her to leave everything behind and start anew in this quaint town nestled in the Pacific Northwest. Lacey found employment as a waitress at Sherry's Cafe and Pies, a popular chain of diners prevalent in the Pacific Northwest during that time. With its cozy ambience and delectable pies, Sherry's Cafe and Pies had become a favorite spot in Medford for locals and tourists alike. Lacey's dedication and hard work had earned her a commendable reputation among the cafe's patrons. However, behind Lacey's professional success, her personal life was filled with drama and intrigue. Lacey's magnetic personality drew the attention of many suitors, but it was her involvement with these two individuals that captivated the imagination. Her fiery personality. She found herself entangled in two separate love affairs, each with its own complexities. The first affair involved a married man, David Cathcart, a 42-year-old man. This clandestine relationship had been ongoing for several months, and the secrecy surrounding it added fuel to the already fiery passion between Lacey and David. The second affair was even more scandalous. Lacey had become romantically involved with a high school cheerleader, Tracy Gartell, an 18-year-old senior. This forbidden love affair had not yet caught the attention of the local gossip mongers, as its revelation would have defied societal norms and shocked the conservative community of Medford. As we delve deeper into this gripping true crime case, we will uncover the intricate web of relationships and the events involved in Lacey's tragic demise. On a sunny afternoon in June 1987, the small community of Medford, Oregon was rocked by a shocking and brutal crime. Lacey Cavalcante, a vibrant 23-year-old woman with a complicated past, met a tragic end in her own apartment. The discovery of her lifeless body sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community, leaving everyone wondering who could have committed such a heinous act. It was on that fateful day, June 22, 1987, that Lacey's life was tragically cut short. Her lifeless body was discovered in the bathroom of her apartment by a close friend, Gina Hausman. Gina, who had been visiting Lacey, was overcome with shock and fear upon making the gruesome discovery. She wasted no time in contacting the authorities, her voice trembling as she described the horrifying scene. The Medford Police Department swiftly responded to the call, cordoning off the area and launching a thorough investigation. The crime scene was meticulously examined for any evidence that could lead to the identification of the perpetrator. Detectives interviewed neighbors, friends, and colleagues, hoping to uncover any leads that could shed light on the motive behind this senseless act of violence. As news of Lacey's murder spread throughout the community, local residents were gripped with fear and disbelief. The once peaceful town of Medford found itself thrust into the spotlight of a real-life crime drama. The case garnered attention from local media outlets, who covered every development with a keen interest. In the coming days, the police would work tirelessly to unravel the mysteries surrounding Lacey's death. The search for answers would take them down a winding path of secrets and deceit as they delved into the lives of those closest to the victim. The police, headed by Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, swiftly responded to the distressing discovery of Lacey Cavalcante's lifeless body in her apartment bathroom on June 22, 1987. The small city of Medford, Oregon was shaken to its core by this chilling and calculated act of violence. Upon arrival, the officers were greeted by a harrowing scene. The warm and sunny weather outside contrasted sharply with the bloodstains that marred the bathroom floor. It was immediately apparent that Lacey had met a tragic end, having been shot to death. With a sense of urgency, Detective Johnson and Officer Parker meticulously combed through the crime scene, leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice. They carefully collected fingerprints, blood samples, and any other potential leads that could shed light on the events leading up to Lacey's untimely demise. The investigation was not limited to the confines of the crime scene. The dedicated officers reached out to Sherry's Cafe and Pies, where Lacey had been employed as a successful waitress.
They interviewed her co-workers and regular customers, hoping to uncover any information that could prove crucial to solving the case. In their pursuit of justice, the police also sought the assistance of the local community. They appealed to Medford residents, urging them to come forward with any information, no matter how insignificant it may seem. The case quickly captured the attention of the media, with newspapers such as the Oregonian and the Mail Tribune publishing headlines that gripped the public's attention. As the investigation progressed, the officers meticulously documented their findings, creating a detailed timeline of events leading up to Lacey's murder. They cross-referenced witness statements, analyzed phone records, and reviewed surveillance footage from nearby establishments, hoping to catch a glimpse of the perpetrator. Days turned into weeks, and the community anxiously awaited news of a breakthrough in the case. The investigation would take unexpected twists and turns, revealing shocking secrets and hidden motives. Medford would never be the same again, forever marked by the tragic events of that fateful June day. David Cathcart, a 42-year-old local business owner who had been romantically involved with the victim, Lacey Calante, emerged as one of the primary suspects in this chilling murder case that rocked the small community of Medford, Oregon in June of 1987. Described as a man of wealth and influence, Cathcart possessed a magnetic charm that had captivated many in his social circle. However, behind his polished facade lay a dark and deceitful nature that had begun to unravel as the investigation unfolded. The police, led by the diligent detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, focused their attention on Cathcart, delving into his possible motives and unraveling the intricate web of his relationship with the deceased. Interviews with friends and acquaintances revealed a complex and tumultuous affair that had ensnared both Cathcart and Calante. As the investigation progressed, the police discovered a trove of evidence that pointed to Cathcart's possible involvement in the crime. They meticulously examined phone records, uncovering numerous late-night calls between the suspect and the victim in the weeks leading up to the murder. Witnesses also reported seeing Cathcart near the victim's apartment building on the day of the crime. Adding to the mounting suspicion, the police interrogated Cathcart intensively, employing a combination of psychological tactics and evidence-based questioning. His responses ranged from vehement denial to angry outbursts, with occasional attempts to deflect blame onto others. However, the investigators remained steadfast, determined to uncover the truth behind this heinous act. In their pursuit of justice, the police also reached out to the public for assistance. They released a statement to the local media, urging anyone with information related to the case to come forward. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure on Cathcart intensified. The media spotlight grew brighter, shining a harsh light on his every move. The once charismatic figure found himself thrust into the center of a storm, with public opinion teetering between curiosity and condemnation. Tracy Gartell, an 18-year-old high school cheerleader, emerged as a person of interest in the murder investigation of Lacey Calante. Tracy, a student at Medford High School, was known for her bubbly personality and her involvement in various extracurricular activities. She was a popular figure among her peers, often seen leading the cheerleading squad during football games and participating in school events. However, beneath Tracy's cheerful demeanor, a darker side was uncovered. The police began to suspect that Tracy's involvement with Lacey went beyond a simple love affair. They believed that Tracy's fear of her secret relationship being exposed might have driven her to commit a heinous act. During the interrogation, Tracy's emotions were on full display. She oscillated between anger, fear, and confusion. Her face flushed with frustration as she vehemently denied any involvement in Lacey's murder. However, her body language betrayed her nervousness as she fidgeted with her fingers and avoided eye contact with the detectives. Detective Janet Johnson, a seasoned investigator with an impressive track record, skillfully probed Tracy for answers. She asked about Tracy's relationship with Lacey, trying to uncover any potential motives or conflicts that could have led to the tragic event. Tracy's responses were evasive, often deflecting the questions or providing vague and contradictory explanations.
As the interrogation intensified, Detective Johnson presented Tracy with the evidence gathered from the crime scene. The blood-stained bathroom floor, the bullet casings, and the fingerprints found at the scene were all meticulously laid out before Tracy. The weight of the evidence seemed to bear down on her, causing her previously confident facade to crumble. Tracy's demeanor shifted from anger to fear as she realized the gravity of the situation. The police had pieced together a timeline of events, placing Tracy near the scene of the crime on the day of the murder. Witnesses had reported seeing her in the vicinity of Lacey's apartment building, raising suspicions about her involvement. The investigation into Tracy's background revealed a troubled past. The pressure to maintain her popularity and status within the high school social hierarchy weighed heavily on her. The fear of her secret affair becoming public knowledge, something that would destroy her reputation in this conservative community, seemed to have pushed her to the edge. The investigation was far from over, but Tracy's involvement in the murder case had become a focal point. The detectives would continue to dig deeper, uncovering more details and pursuing justice for Lacey Cavalcante. As the investigation into the murder of Lacey Cavalcante intensified, a breakthrough moment occurred when the police stumbled upon a hidden stash of letters in the office of David Cathcart, one of the primary suspects. The discovery of these letters sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community of Medford, Oregon, as their contents revealed a web of manipulation and deceit that few could have imagined. The date was June 27, 1987, a cloudy and overcast day that matched the somber mood of the investigation. Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, leading the charge in solving this heinous crime, meticulously combed through David Cathcart's office, hoping to find any clue that could shed light on Lacey's murder. As they sifted through stacks of papers and files, their eyes fell upon a seemingly innocuous wooden box tucked away in a corner. Opening the box, the detectives were greeted by a trove of letters, each one meticulously preserved with a sense of secrecy. The letters, written in Lacey's elegant handwriting, painted a picture of a woman caught in a dangerous game of love and manipulation. In these missives, apparently written to herself, Lacey detailed her tumultuous affairs with both David Cathcart and Tracy Gartell, the high school cheerleader who had also become entangled in her web of deceit. The letters revealed a calculated plan, carefully orchestrated by Lacey herself, to pit her two lovers against each other. She played them like puppets, manipulating their emotions and desires to suit her own twisted agenda of a sordid sexual competition. The extent of her control over these two individuals was both chilling and disturbing. As news of the letters spread, the community of Medford was left reeling. The local newspaper, the Medford Tribune, ran front-page headlines proclaiming love and deceit unraveled. Lacey's letters exposed dark secrets. The town's residents, already shocked by the brutal murder of Lacey, now found themselves grappling with the realization that the victim they thought they knew had a hidden side. The police, armed with this newfound evidence, intensified their investigation into David Cathcart and Tracy Gartell. They sought to uncover the truth behind Lacey's death and bring the puppet master to justice. In the relentless pursuit of justice, the investigation into the tragic murder of Lacey Cavalcante took an unexpected turn as the focus shifted to a seasoned private investigator named Michael Hampe. Hampe, known for his reputation as a truth seeker, had been hired by none other than Rebecca Cathcart, the wife of David Cathcart, one of the primary suspects in this chilling case. The police, driven by their commitment to uncovering the truth, meticulously interrogated Hampe, delving into his possible motives and his role in the murder. Hampe, a man of calm demeanor, stood firmly in his innocence, maintaining his dedication to uncovering the truth behind Lacey's untimely demise. During the intense questioning, Hampe revealed that his involvement in the case stemmed from Rebecca Cathcart's suspicions about her husband's extramarital affair with Lacey. The discovery of this affair had sent shockwaves through the Cathcart household, prompting Rebecca to seek the services of a private investigator to uncover the truth. Hampe, armed with his intuition and a steadfast commitment to his profession, embarked on a thorough investigation. He meticulously combed through phone records, financial transactions, and witness statements, leaving no stone unturned in his quest to uncover the truth. As the investigation progressed, Hampe stumbled upon a series of incriminating letters hidden in David Cathcart's office. These letters, penned by Lacey herself, revealed a web of manipulation and deceit, a sexual competition she had created that had ensnared the lives of those involved. The letters provided a chilling glimpse into the mind of a master manipulator, leaving the police astounded by the depth of deception. In his pursuit of justice,
Hampe collaborated closely with Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, sharing his findings and insights. Together, they meticulously pieced together the puzzle, connecting the dots between the suspects and the evidence. As the investigation into Lacey Cavalcante's murder continued, the police, armed with the newfound evidence and Hampe's unwavering determination, inched closer to unraveling the truth. With each passing day, the web of deceit surrounding this case began to unravel, revealing a shocking climax. In a stunning turn of events, David Cathcart, the lover of the late Lacey Cavalcante, accused his own wife, Rebecca Cathcart, of orchestrating the murder that rocked the community in June of 1987. The small city was left reeling as the truth behind this chilling crime came to light. The investigation took an unexpected turn when David Cathcart, a 42-year-old influential figure in the community, revealed the dark secrets hidden within his seemingly perfect marriage. In a dramatic confrontation, David claimed that his wife, Rebecca, had been manipulating him for years, using him as a pawn in her sinister quest for power and control. In a press conference set up outside of his sizable house, he accused his wife with the memorable words, "My wife is the puppet master." The police, armed with this shocking revelation, meticulously gathered evidence against Rebecca Cathcart. They uncovered a motive that sent shockwaves through the community, a desire to protect her own reputation in Medford's social scene and to salvage her seemingly perfect marriage. Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, leading the investigation, worked tirelessly to gather evidence that would support David's claims. They meticulously combed through the couple's financial records, phone records, and personal belongings, searching for any piece of evidence that would link Rebecca to the murder. Their efforts paid off when they discovered a hidden stash of letters in David Cathcart's office. These letters, meticulously saved by Rebecca, revealed a web of manipulation and deceit that left the investigators astounded. The letters detailed Rebecca's plan to murder Lacey Cavalcante, her husband's mistress and the woman who threatened to expose her secrets. The police wasted no time in arresting Rebecca Cathcart, leaving her stunned by the swift turn of events. The evidence against her was overwhelming, leaving little doubt in the minds of the investigators. The victim's family, already devastated by their loss, was left in disbelief as they struggled to comprehend the sinister truth that had been lurking beneath the surface. The trial that followed the shocking murder of Lacey Cavalcante was a highly emotional and closely watched affair. The prosecution, led by attorney Lawson, meticulously built a compelling case against Rebecca Cathcart, the accused mastermind behind the murder plot. Chambers, known for his tenacity and unwavering pursuit of justice, presented a wealth of evidence to support the charges. Throughout the trial, the courtroom was filled with tension and raw emotions. The victim's family, friends, and members of the community anxiously awaited the verdict, hoping for closure and justice for Lacey. The defense, represented by attorney Robert P. Rothbury, fought fiercely to protect Rebecca's innocence, arguing that the evidence against her was circumstantial and insufficient. During the trial, the prosecution called a series of witnesses to the stand, including Detective Janet Johnson and Officer Linda Parker, who had led the initial investigation. They testified about the meticulous gathering of evidence and the discovery of the hidden stash of letters in David Cathcart's office, which revealed Rebecca's manipulation and deceit. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to cast doubt on the prosecution's case. They called several character witnesses who testified to Rebecca's good standing in the community and her seemingly perfect marriage to David Cathcart. They argued that the evidence against Rebecca was weak and that there could be other plausible explanations for the crime. The jury, consisting of 12 individuals carefully selected for their impartiality, deliberated for several days. Their task was not an easy one, as the evidence presented was complex and required careful consideration. Finally, on a tense Friday afternoon, the verdict was delivered. Rebecca Cathcart was found guilty of orchestrating the murder of Lacey Cavalcante. The courtroom erupted in a mix of relief, tears, and disbelief. The impact of the verdict reverberated through the lives of the victim's friends and family, forever altering their perception of the world. The sentencing, however, left some divided. Rebecca Cathcart was sentenced to only 6 years in prison, a decision that sparked controversy and debate. Some felt that the punishment was too lenient, given the severity of the crime and the manipulation involved. Others believed that justice had been served, as the evidence against Rebecca was not as concrete as in other cases. Following the dramatic conclusion of the trial, the lives of those involved in the case took unexpected turns. David Cathcart, once a wealthy and influential man, found himself divorced and estranged from his former wife, Rebecca Cathcart. The scandalous affair and subsequent murder had shattered the illusion of his seemingly perfect life. David, now a broken man, retreated from the public eye, seeking solace in the quiet corners of his own remorse. Tracy Gartell, the high school cheerleader entangled in a love affair, faced a difficult road to redemption. Her once promising future was marred by the scandal, and she struggled to regain her footing. The small town of Medford, known for its tight-knit community, watched as Tracy attempted to rebuild her life, facing the judgment and whispers of her peers. The scars left by her involvement in the affair served as a constant reminder of the consequences of her actions. As the years passed, the small community of Medford slowly moved on from the shocking events of June 1987. The local Sherry's Cafe and Pies, where Lacey had worked, became a symbol of the tragedy that had unfolded, forever etched in the memories of the townspeople. The wounds left by the events of June 1987 may have healed, but the scars remained, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of seeking justice. And so concludes our episode of True Crime Case Files. This chilling tale of manipulation, deceit, and murder serves as a reminder that darkness can lurk behind the most seemingly perfect facades.
In the heart of America's breadbasket, Omaha, Nebraska, Melanie Vandermeer, a 34-year-old bank employee, lived a life marked by ambition and familial love. A graduate of Creighton University, she had majored in finance, a field she navigated with precision and passion. As a mother to 3-month-old Addison and wife to Peter Vandermeer, Melanie's life was a tapestry of modern motherhood and career aspirations. Melanie's colleagues at the First National Bank of Omaha knew her as a diligent worker, often staying late to ensure her clients' needs were met. Her LinkedIn profile, a relatively new phenomenon in June of 2005, showcased endorsements for her financial acumen and dedication. At home, Melanie was the nucleus of her family, her relationship with her husband Peter appearing to be a testament to partnership and mutual support, at least on the surface. Her family, including her sister Emily and parents John and Diane, were fixtures in her life. They often gathered for Sunday dinners, a tradition that Melanie cherished. These intimate gatherings were a blend of old and new, where stories from the past mingled with discussions of the latest episode of Desperate Housewives, a show Melanie enjoyed for its portrayal of complex women. Melanie's dreams extended beyond the confines of her immediate world. She envisioned a future where her daughter would have opportunities she had worked hard to secure. Only days before her death, Melanie had excitedly spoken of plans to enroll Addison in the prestigious Brownell Talbot School, ensuring a head start for her education. As Melanie and Peter boarded their flight to Cancun, a couple's only trip to celebrate their second marriage anniversary, her thoughts were a mix of anticipation for the sandy beaches she'd seen in Travel and Leisure magazine and a well-deserved break from the rigors of new parenthood. Little did she know that this journey to paradise would be her last. On June 15, 2005, as the early morning sun cast a golden hue over the white sands of Cancun, a grim discovery disrupted the serene ambience of this tropical haven. At approximately 6:30 a.m., with the resort town slowly stirring to life, Maria Hernandez, an 82-year-old local known for her daily beachcombing rituals, stumbled upon a scene that would haunt the peaceful shores and make headlines far beyond the Yucatan Peninsula. The body of Melanie Vandermeer, still clad in a J.Crew bikini, a popular brand featured in the summer catalogs of that year, was found lifeless, embraced by the gentle yet relentless waves of the Gulf of Mexico. Maria, who had lived through the transformation of Cancun from a sleepy fishing village to a bustling tourist hotspot, was no stranger to the occasional aftermath of nighttime revelries left on the beach. However, the sight of Melanie's body was an inconceivable departure from the norm. The local authorities were notified promptly, thanks to a nearby tourist who lent Maria his Nokia cell phone, a device that had become a staple in the connectivity of the era. The police arrived on the scene with a sense of urgency, a response time reflecting the gravity of the situation and the potential impact on Cancun's image as a safe and exotic getaway, frequently featured in the pages of Condé Nast Traveler. The weather, typically idyllic for this time of year, seemed to mourn with a somber sky and a gentle breeze that offered no solace to the first responders. The beach, usually adorned with sun loungers and vibrant umbrellas, was now cordoned off with yellow tape, standing in stark contrast to the picturesque setting that had drawn Melanie and countless others to its shores. Maria, with decades of life etched into her weathered face, displayed a stoic calmness that belied the shock of her discovery. Her statement to the police was clear and concise, providing the initial narrative to what would become a complex and heart-wrenching investigation into the untimely death of a young mother and wife. The arrival of the Quintana Roo police at the now secluded section of Cancun's coastline was swift, a testament to the Mexican authorities' commitment to maintaining the resort's image, as depicted in glossy brochures, a sun-soaked retreat from the daily grind. Detectives Alejandro Ruiz and Sofia Blanco, seasoned officers with years of experience between them, were met with a scene that juxtaposed the natural beauty of the locale with a chilling narrative. The date was June 15, 2005, a time when the world's eyes were often fixed on the developments of the Iraq War, broadcasted by CNN and other 24-hour news channels. Yet here, the only conflict was between the tranquility of the resort town and the violence suggested by the discovery at its shore. The weather, a balmy 82 degrees with a light breeze, seemed incongruous with the gravity of the crime scene. Detective Ruiz, with his stern demeanor and sharp eye for detail, noted the absence of struggle. The sand around Melanie's body was undisturbed, save for the impressions left by Maria Hernandez's early morning discovery. Detective Blanco, known for her empathy and keen intuition, observed the victim's peaceful expression, a stark contrast to the brutality of her demise. The crime scene was devoid of the expected chaos that accompanies violence. There was no blood, no signs of a conventional struggle. The detectives surmised that Melanie had been drowned, a hypothesis that would later be confirmed by the medical examiner. The Gulf waters had cleansed any immediate evidence, leaving the investigators to rely on forensic methods that were becoming increasingly sophisticated, even as shows like CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, popularized them to the public. The police meticulously documented the scene, utilizing digital cameras, a relatively new addition to their investigative toolkit, to capture the area in detail. They collected samples of sand and water near the body, hoping that the burgeoning field of forensic science might yield microscopic clues. The absence of Melanie's personal effects suggested a robbery or an attempt to conceal her identity, complicating the case further. As the sun climbed higher, casting a harsh light on the grim task at hand, the detectives knew that the answers they sought might be as elusive as the motives behind this tragic end to a vacation that promised relaxation and renewal. As the investigation into Melanie Vandermeer's untimely death unfolded, the focus turned to her husband, Peter Vandermeer, a 35-year-old financial advisor. Amidst the swaying palms and sun-soaked beaches of Cancun, a stark contrast to the couple's quiet life in Omaha, Nebraska, Peter found himself at the center of a murder inquiry. With a reputation for ambition and a seemingly unwavering commitment to his family, Peter's life was under intense scrutiny. Peter's communications were being combed through by local authorities. Detectives sifted through call logs and messages, searching for inconsistencies in his account of their vacation, which coincided with the 2005 MTV Movie Awards buzz, an event Melanie had been excited to discuss during their trip. During the interrogation, held within the stark walls of the Cancun Police Department, Peter's composure was as fluctuating as the stock market he navigated for a living. He spoke of their plans to visit the renowned Chichen Itza ruins and how they had dined at the Hard Rock Cafe Cancun just the night before Melanie's disappearance. Yet, when pressed about rumors of marital strife, his demeanor shifted. His hands, which had calmly folded a napkin from the cafe into neat squares on the table, now clenched into fists. The detectives noted Peter's agitation when they inquired about the couple's financial situation, which was reportedly strained due to his recent investment in the real estate boom. Considered precarious by some after the 2005 housing market predictions, Peter vehemently denied any discord, attributing any perceived tension to the normal stress of parenting a new baby and Melanie's ambition to ascend the corporate ladder at her bank. However, the police had uncovered evidence of several heated exchanges between Peter and Melanie, captured by the hotel's security cameras. These exchanges painted a picture of a relationship fraying at the edges, despite the idyllic setting. The investigation was further complicated by the discovery of a substantial life insurance policy taken out on Melanie, with Peter as the sole beneficiary, a common trope in true crime tales that raised eyebrows among the investigators. As the interrogation stretched into the evening, the detectives were aware that the burden of proof lay heavy on their shoulders. Cancun, a city pulsating with the rhythm of nightlife and the whispers of Caribbean winds, was now the backdrop of a narrative that had shifted from romantic getaway to sinister plot. The investigation into Melanie Vandermeer's death took a dramatic turn with the questioning of Tommy Walker, a 23-year-old Australian backpacker whose nomadic lifestyle had led him to the white sands of Cancun. His rugged charm and the allure of adventure had captivated Melanie, resulting in a clandestine affair that now placed him in the crosshairs of a murder investigation. Tommy's arrival in Cancun had been part of a broader itinerary that included the world's most exotic locales, a journey he meticulously documented on his blog, a popular medium in the burgeoning age of social media. His digital footprint, including check-ins at Cancun's Coco Bongo Club the night of June 14th, provided the police with a timeline of his movements. The interrogation took place against the backdrop of a series of benefit concerts aimed at combating global poverty, mirroring the stark contrast between Tommy's free-spirited existence and the gravity of the situation at hand. His defense was as unwavering as the global resolve to make poverty history. Detectives probed Tommy about his relationship with Melanie, questioning whether jealousy might have driven him to an act of violence. The Australian, sporting a billabong tank top and a sunburned demeanor, maintained his innocence. He recounted their last meeting, insisting it was nothing more than a farewell before he continued his travels to the next destination on his list, which included the recently opened Disneyland Hong Kong. Despite his assertions of innocence, the police were skeptical. The affair had been a poorly kept secret, whispers of which had even reached the ears of the staff at the Moon Palace resort where the Vandermeers were staying. Tommy's passport and belongings were seized, revealing a postcard addressed to Melanie, the message on the back unfinished and a tone, one of longing. As the interrogation concluded, Tommy's fate hung in the balance, much like the Space Shuttle Discovery, which was grounded due to fuel sensor issues, delaying its much-anticipated return to flight. The investigators were left to ponder whether Tommy Walker's desire for freedom had been eclipsed by a darker impulse. On June 17th, as Cancun's tourist throngs reveled in the summer heat, a breakthrough emerged in the Vandermeer case. A local vendor, sifting through the sands to set up his beachside souvenir stand, unearthed Melanie's missing purse. The discovery, mere meters from the Moon Palace resort, reignited the investigation with newfound urgency. The sandy handbag, a Coach leather tote, a recent anniversary gift from Peter, contained more than the usual vacationer's essentials. Among the items were Melanie's hotel key card, a half-empty bottle of Banana Boat sunscreen, and a torn piece of paper that bore an enigmatic message written in what appeared to be Melanie's own hand. The cryptic note, partially smeared by sunscreen, seemed to be an unfinished sentence or a hastily scribbled thought. It read, "Meet me where the sun whispers goodbye," a phrase that detectives speculated could point to a clandestine meeting on the beach, perhaps with her lover, Tommy, or another unknown individual. The contents of the purse were meticulously cataloged and analyzed. Forensic technicians dusted for fingerprints, while digital specialists attempted to extract any latent data from the keycard, which might shed light on her final movements, a technique growing in sophistication. The case had all the hallmarks of a sensational story, a picturesque setting, a young mother's tragic end, and a narrative rife with potential jealousy and betrayal. As the summer sun set on another day in paradise, the investigation into Melanie Vandermeer's death had taken a significant turn. The authorities hoped the purse would be a game-changer in uncovering the truth behind the tragedy. The serene shores of Cancun, usually a refuge for sunseekers, became the backdrop for a complex investigation as attention shifted to Maria Hernandez, the 82-year-old local who first stumbled upon Melanie Vandermeer's body. Maria, a fixture on the beach, supported her family through what tourists left behind, her life story a stark contrast to the carefree vacationers surrounding her. Detectives delved into Maria's background, uncovering a life marked by resilience and hardship. Her daily routine, as unchanging as the tides, involved combing the beach each morning, a practice she had maintained for decades. This consistency, coupled with her discovery of the body, prompted authorities to consider her a person of interest. During her questioning, which took place in a room that felt as cold and clinical as the air-conditioned lobbies of the nearby luxury resorts, Maria maintained a stoic composure. Her account was detailed and precise, reminiscent of the factual reporting style seen in the pages of National Geographic, which featured an article on the resilience of the elderly. Investigators probed for a motive, speculating on a theft gone wrong. However, Maria's history was devoid of any criminal entanglements. Much like the pristine beaches she walked were free of the seaweed that often washed ashore elsewhere. Her hands, weathered from years of labor, showed no signs of a struggle, and her alibi for the time of Melanie's disappearance was corroborated by other locals. As the interrogation unfolded, Maria, despite the investigators' initial suspicions, emerged more as a witness than a perpetrator. The detectives concluded their session with Maria, her account leaving them with more questions than answers. The pursuit of justice for Melanie Vandermeer continued, the case unfolding like the plot of a John Grisham novel, each chapter revealing new complexities. The investigation into Melanie Vandermeer's death culminated in a revelation that would shock the tranquil community of Cancun. The evidence meticulously gathered and analyzed by local law enforcement pointed to one individual, Peter Vandermeer, the victim's husband. The man who had presented himself as a grieving spouse was unmasked as the architect of a premeditated murder. Peter's facade began to crumble as detectives pieced together a timeline that contradicted his initial statements. Hotel surveillance footage, time-stamped and unambiguous in its storytelling, showed Peter's movements on the night of Melanie's disappearance. The footage, as revealing as the exposés featured in Time magazine, contradicted his alibi. Further incriminating evidence emerged from the couple's electronic devices. Emails retrieved from Melanie's BlackBerry, a device that had become synonymous with business communications, revealed a marriage fraught with tension and conflict. Peter's own laptop, a sleek Dell Inspiron which had been advertised as the perfect tool for the on-the-go professional, contained deleted files that were recovered by forensic experts. These files included internet searches for life insurance payouts and the effects of saltwater drowning. The case against Peter Vandermeer was becoming as clear as the high-definition images broadcasted by a newly launched HD channel. The motive was a tapestry of betrayal, humiliation, and financial gain. Peter had learned of Melanie's affair through a message on her Nokia phone, a model praised for its reliability, and the revelation had ignited a murderous plan fueled by jealousy and rage. In the days leading up to the murder, Peter had been seen purchasing a large life insurance policy on Melanie, naming himself as the sole beneficiary. This policy, coupled with the couple's recent enrollment in an American Express travel insurance plan, painted a grim picture of premeditation. As the local community absorbed the news, the idyllic image of Cancun was temporarily overshadowed by a narrative of domestic tragedy. The case against Peter Vandermeer was airtight, his arrest imminent, and the facade of the perfect family holiday was shattered forever. As the tropical storm clouds gathered over Cancun's horizon on June 20th, a different tempest was unfolding within the confines of the local police station. Peter Vandermeer, once the bereaved husband, was apprehended by authorities in connection with the murder of his wife, Melanie Vandermeer. The arrest marked a somber resolution to a case that had gripped the seaside city. The evidence against Peter had mounted steadily, with the meticulous work of the Cancun detectives mirroring the precision of a Swiss watch, a symbol of the same luxury Peter aspired to provide for his family. The detectives had constructed a detailed timeline of Melanie's final hours, corroborated by hotel surveillance footage and witness testimonies, which now pointed irrefutably to Peter's involvement. His apprehension occurred discreetly, away from the prying lenses of tourist digital cameras, which were becoming increasingly prevalent. Much like the Canon EOS 350D that had been released earlier that year, Peter's demeanor during the arrest was one of disbelief. He appeared as disoriented as someone waking from a dream, his reality irrevocably altered. The news of Peter's arrest spread quickly, traveling through the channels of local media with fervor. The case had all the elements of a primetime drama, and public interest was piqued. Melanie's family, who had flown in from Nebraska, a state known for its rolling plains rather than sandy beaches, was present at the station. The mix of emotions was palpable, relief at the progress of the investigation, intertwined with the profound grief of loss. The Vandermeer family had been regular attendees at the Heartland Church back home, seeking solace in their faith, which was now tested in the most tragic of circumstances. As Peter was escorted to a holding cell, the storm outside unleashed its fury on Cancun. The sound of rain on the police station roof provided a grim soundtrack to the unfolding events. The arrest marked the beginning of a new chapter in the case, one that would lead to the judicial system where evidence would be weighed and a verdict rendered. The trial of Peter Vandermeer, set against the backdrop of a Cancun summer, commenced with the weight of expectation. The evidence laid out before the court was as compelling as the latest investigative series gracing the cover of Rolling Stone. Hotel surveillance footage, email correspondences, and the damning life insurance policy painted a portrait of a man driven to the brink by infidelity and financial desire. Defense attorney Miguel Torres, known for his advocacy as robust as the defense strategies outlined in John Grisham's legal thrillers, pleaded for leniency. He highlighted Peter's lack of criminal history and his role as a father, drawing a parallel to the public's sympathy for Martha Stewart, who had recently returned to the limelight after her own legal battles. The courtroom, with its charged atmosphere, could have been the set of a courtroom drama series, a stark contrast to the usual tranquility of the seaside town. Melanie's family, a constant presence in the gallery, clung to each other, their emotions as turbulent as the stormy season that had just passed. When the verdict was announced, the word guilty resonated through the room, definitive and irrevocable. The sentencing that followed was severe, as if to match the gravity of Peter's actions. The judge cited the premeditated nature of the crime, delivering a sentence that ensured Peter would spend the majority of his remaining years behind bars. Outside the courthouse, the media frenzy was reminiscent of the buzz surrounding the Live 8 concerts, which had taken place that same summer. Opinions on the verdict were divided. Some felt justice had been served, while others debated the complexities of the human heart and the concept of retribution. As the Van der Meer case closed, the family left the courthouse to begin the arduous process of healing. The foundation established in Melanie's name promised to keep her memory alive, a testament to the enduring spirit of a life taken too soon. In the wake of the trial that captivated Cancun, life gradually resumed its rhythm. Maria Hernandez, the elderly beachcomber who had discovered Melanie Van der Meer's body, returned to her daily search for treasures along the shore. The brief brush with the law had left an imprint on her, yet it became just another story in her long life, much like the tale she shared with her grandchildren. Tommy Walker, the Australian backpacker whose affair with Melanie had entangled him in the investigation, continued his global journey. However, the carefree spirit he once embodied seemed dimmed. The beaches of Cancun were replaced by new horizons, but his travel blog, now with a more reflective tone, occasionally hinted at the shadows of the past. The detectives who had worked tirelessly on the case, Alejandro Ruiz and Sofia Blanco, received commendations for their dedication. Their success in solving the case was discussed in law enforcement circles with the same respect as the latest advancements in forensic technology featured in journals like Forensic Magazine. Melanie's family, back in Omaha, sought to honor her memory through activism. The foundation they established focused on supporting victims of domestic violence, a mission that provided a channel for their grief and a legacy for Melanie. The foundation's work garnered attention, much like the social justice causes championed by celebrities at the Live 8 concerts that summer. The Van der Meer case had become a cautionary tale, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind the facade of marital bliss. It served as a narrative that echoed the complexities of human relationships explored in popular shows like Desperate Housewives, which dominated television screens at the time. As Cancun's palm trees swayed in the gentle breeze and the turquoise waters of the Gulf of Mexico continued to lap at the sandy beaches, the tragedy of Melanie Van der Meer remained a poignant chapter in the city's history, a story of paradise lost to the destructive forces of jealousy and revenge. The tragic case of Melanie Van der Meer reminds us that paradise can sometimes mask the darkest of human emotions. As we close this chapter of True Crime Case Files, we are left to ponder the fragility of life and the lengths to which a broken heart will go to seek retribution. Our victim, Vicki Davis Goby, was a 28-year-old marketing executive. She possessed a quick wit and a magnetic personality, which drew people to her effortlessly. Vicki's ambition was evident in her dedication to her career, often working late hours to climb the corporate ladder. Despite her professional success, her personal life remained shrouded in secrecy. The classic Southern rumor mill of Charleston, South Carolina swirled about Vicki's alleged sexual involvement with multiple men, including a married man and even a high school student. These rumors, fueled by local chatter at church and iced tea socials, painted a complex picture of a woman entangled in a web of sex and illicit affairs. The gossipy frenzy surrounding her personal life only intensified the intrigue surrounding Vicki. September of 1998 was a tumultuous time in Charleston. The city was still reeling from the aftermath of Hurricane Bonnie, which had struck the region just weeks prior. The hurricane had caused widespread damage, leaving many residents displaced and struggling to rebuild their lives. Against this backdrop of recovery and resilience, the shocking murder of Vicki Davis Goby unfolded. As we delve deeper into this case, we will explore the lives of those connected to Vicki, including her husband and mother-in-law, both of who would play a central role in the chilling plot that unfolded. We will examine the evidence, witnesses, and motives behind this heinous crime. Join us as we navigate the twists and turns of this true crime tale that gripped the community of Charleston, South Carolina. On a fateful day in September 1998, a peaceful and affluent neighborhood of Charleston, South Carolina was shattered by a heinous crime that would forever haunt its residents. The victim, Vicki Davis Goby, a 28-year-old marketing executive, met a tragic end in her own bedroom, the scene of a brutal act of violence that sent shockwaves through the community. Vicki was a woman of ambition, known for her quick wit and magnetic personality. Her dedication to her career was unwavering, often working late hours to climb the corporate ladder. However, behind her professional success, there were whispers of a controversial sex life that added a layer of intrigue to the case. Rumors circulated about Vicki's alleged involvement with multiple men, including a married individual and even a high school student. These whispers fueled speculation and cast a shadow over her reputation. The discovery of Vicki's lifeless body sent shockwaves through the affluent neighborhood. The crime scene was a chilling sight, with bloodstains and signs of a violent struggle. The murder weapon, a baseball bat, added a horrifying twist to the already perplexing case. The residents, accustomed to a life of comfort and security, were left in a state of disbelief. News of the murder spread like wildfire, capturing the attention of the local media. The community, once shielded by its genteel, classically Southern affluence, found itself thrust into the spotlight as the investigation unfolded. September 1998 became a month etched in the memories of Charleston's residents. The murder of Vicki Davis Goby had shattered their sense of security, forcing them to confront the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. It was a crime that demanded answers, and the community rallied together, determined to find justice for Vicki. A quiet neighborhood of Charleston, South Carolina was shattered by the gruesome murder of 28-year-old marketing executive Vicki Davis Goby in September of 1998. The police, led by the tenacious detective Sean "Trash Talk" Reilly, wasted no time in their pursuit of justice. Upon arriving at the crime scene, the investigators were met with a chilling sight. Vicki's bedroom, once a place of comfort and solace, had been transformed into a scene of unspeakable violence. Blood splatters adorned the walls, starkly contrasting with the elegant decor that surrounded them. The air was heavy with a sense of dread as the investigators began their meticulous examination. The murder weapon, a baseball bat adorned with the logo of the Florida Marlins, lay discarded near Vicki's lifeless body. Its wooden surface was stained with her blood, a grim reminder of the brutality she had endured. Detective Reilly carefully collected the bat, hoping it would provide crucial clues to unravel this heinous crime. As the investigation unfolded, the police discovered that Vicki's personal life was far from ordinary. Rumors had swirled about her involvement with multiple men, including a married man and even a high school student. These revelations added a layer of complexity to the case, leaving the investigators to question whether her sex life played a role in her tragic demise. Detective Reilly and his team meticulously combed through Vicki's personal belongings, searching for any evidence that could shed light on her murder. They meticulously examined her phone records, revealing a series of cryptic messages and calls from unknown numbers. The investigators reached out to the phone company, hoping to trace the origins of these mysterious communications. Meanwhile, local media outlets began to take notice of the high-profile case. The community was gripped by fear, with residents locking their doors and looking over their shoulders, unsure if the killer lurked among them. As the investigation continued, Detective Reilly and his team tirelessly pursued every lead, determined to bring justice to Vicki and her grieving family. Their efforts would uncover a web of deceit, betrayal, and secrets that would shock the community to its core. Evelyn Traylene Goby, a 63-year-old woman of Southern charm and impeccable manners, found herself at the center of the investigation into Vicki Davis Goby's murder. Evelyn, known for her old money background and esteemed reputation, had always presented herself as a pillar of the community. However, beneath her polished exterior, a deep-seated resentment towards her daughter-in-law simmered. The motive for Evelyn's potential involvement in the crime stemmed from her concern for the family's legacy. Vicki's decision not to have children was seen as a threat to the Goby name, a name that had long been associated with wealth and influence in Charleston, South Carolina. The tension between the two women had been building for months, with Evelyn feeling increasingly marginalized by Vicki's success and independence. As the police interrogated Evelyn, her emotions swung from anger to denial. She vehemently refuted any involvement in the murder, insisting that she had no reason to harm Vicki. However, the mounting evidence against her was difficult to ignore. Detective Sean Trash Talk Really, the lead investigator on the case, meticulously pieced together the puzzle. He discovered that Evelyn, a baseball fan, had been in possession of a baseball bat similar to the murder weapon. This discovery raised suspicions and pointed towards Evelyn's possible guilt. Furthermore, Really uncovered a series of anonymous letters sent to Vicki in the months leading up to her death. These letters contained veiled threats and warnings, suggesting that someone close to her had ill intentions. Handwriting analysis revealed similarities between the anonymous letters and Evelyn's own penmanship. The investigation took a dramatic turn when a neighbor recalled seeing Evelyn's convertible parked near Vicki's house on the day of the murder. This eyewitness account provided a crucial link between Evelyn and the crime scene. As the evidence stacked against her, Evelyn's facade of Southern charm began to crumble. The affluent neighborhoods of Charleston were left in a state of shock, grappling with the realization that darkness can lurk even within the most seemingly idyllic communities. As the investigation into the murder of Vicki Davis Goby unfolded, the spotlight turned towards her husband, Greg Goby, a successful patent lawyer. Greg, known for his charm and ambition, had always been deeply devoted to his family's reputation. However, the police began to uncover disturbing details that raised questions about his involvement in this heinous crime. One key point of contention was Vicki's decision not to have children. This had been a source of frequent arguments between the couple, leading investigators to explore whether it played a role in the motive behind the murder. The pressure to carry on the family legacy weighed heavily on Greg's shoulders, and it became evident that he saw Vicki's choice as a threat to their future. During the intense police interrogation, Greg's emotions ran high. His responses ranged from anger to defensiveness as he vehemently denied any involvement in his wife's murder. He insisted that he loved Vicki deeply and would never harm her. However, the detectives were not convinced and continued to dig deeper. One crucial piece of evidence that emerged was a series of text messages between Greg and an unidentified woman. These messages vaguely hinted at a secret affair, throwing a new twist into the investigation. The detectives painstakingly analyzed the messages, searching for any clues that could shed light on the motive behind Vicki's murder. Later, the case took a dramatic turn when a new witness came forward. A neighbor reported seeing a suspicious figure lurking near Vicki's house on the night of the murder. This crucial eyewitness account provided a glimmer of hope for the investigators, as it offered a potential break in the case. As the investigation continued, the detectives worked tirelessly to gather enough evidence to bring the killer to justice. The truth behind Vicki's murder remained elusive, but the pieces of the puzzle were slowly falling into place. The investigation into the murder of Vicki Davis Goby took an unexpected turn when a crucial piece of evidence was unearthed. On a humid and sultry September afternoon, a beachcomber stumbled upon a hidden compartment concealed within a weathered wooden chest buried deep in the sand. To the beachcomber's surprise, the compartment contained a worn diary belonging to the late marketing executive. This diary, which had remained concealed for over 2 weeks, would prove to be a treasure trove of secrets and revelations. As the pages were carefully turned, the shocking truth unfolded before the eyes of the investigators. Vicki's diary chronicled a clandestine world of secret liaisons and forbidden desires, exposing a web of a dozen men Vicki was having sex with at the time of her death. The entries in the diary depicted a life far removed from the polished facade Vicki had presented to the world. Names were mentioned, many of them recognizable figures from the local community. The diary hinted at a married man, a deacon of a local megachurch, a high school student, several men at the local senior center, and even a prominent politician who had been a frequent visitor to the affluent neighborhoods of Charleston, South Carolina. The investigators were astounded by the breadth and audacity of Vicki's secret life. The diary entries painted a vivid picture of a woman who reveled in the thrill of forbidden relationships and outre sexual acts, seemingly unconcerned with the potential consequences. The revelations sent shockwaves through the community, with whispers and speculation spreading like wildfire. As the investigation continued, the police found themselves faced with a daunting task. The diary had opened up a multitude of new leads and suspects, each with their own potential motive for wanting Vicki silenced. The investigators meticulously combed through the diary's pages, cross-referencing names and dates with their existing evidence. The investigators knew that they were now on the brink of unraveling the truth, but little did they know the twists and turns that still lay ahead. In the gripping investigation into the murder of Vicki Davis Goby, a shocking twist emerged that sent shockwaves through the affluent neighborhoods of Charleston, South Carolina in September of 1998. As the police dug deeper into the case, a new suspect emerged, casting doubt on the initial focus of the investigation. Amber Smythe, Vicki's envious secretary, became a person of interest due to her simmering resentment and a trail of secrets that led investigators down a twisted path. Amber, known for her sharp tongue and ruthless ambition, had long harbored jealousy towards Vicki's success and glamorous lifestyle. The police, determined to uncover the truth, delved into Amber's possible motives for murder. During the intense interrogation, Amber's anger and resentment towards Vicki were palpable. However, she vehemently denied any involvement in the crime. As the investigators pressed further, a startling revelation came to light. It was discovered that Amber, under the alias Vanessa Dracula, had been working as a call girl to make ends meet. This was not an uncommon choice. According to the American Center for Family Relationships, 40% of women in their 20s have turned to sex work for extra money. Even more shocking, one of her regular clients was none other than Greg Goby, Vicki's husband. According to Amber, Greg was looking to have a child with her, then he would adopt the child to be his heir. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation. The police began to question the nature of Greg and Amber's relationship and whether it played a role in Vicki's untimely demise. Was Greg's involvement with Amber a motive for murder? Did Amber's jealousy and rage push her to commit such a heinous act? The police meticulously combed through phone records and interviewed witnesses, hoping to uncover the truth. They sought to piece together the puzzle of Vicki's secret sex life, her relationship with Greg, and the possible involvement of Amber. The case took on a life of its own, captivating the public's imagination and leaving them hungry for answers. In a shocking twist, the true identity of the murderer in the high-profile Charleston murder case was revealed. Evelyn Traylene Goby, the unsuspecting mother-in-law of the victim, Vicki Davis Goby, was arrested and charged with the brutal killing. This stunning revelation sent shockwaves through the community and left many questioning how such a tragic event could have unfolded. The motive behind this heinous act was uncovered during the course of the investigation. It appeared that Evelyn, driven by a toxic combination of jealousy, confusion, and pride for her son Greg, hatched a twisted plan to protect her family's reputation at all costs. On that fateful day in September of 1998, Evelyn, suffering from undiagnosed dementia, mistook Vicki for Amber Smythe, Vicki's secretary, part-time call girl, and her son's lover. In a moment of confusion and rage, Evelyn unleashed a brutal attack on Vicki, beating her to death with a Florida Marlins baseball bat. Sadly, this situation is not at all uncommon. According to the American Academy of Medicine and Criminal Justice, 18% of all murders in the U.S. are committed by someone with dementia. This tragic case of mistaken identity left investigators and the community reeling with disbelief. As news of Evelyn's arrest spread, the community was left grappling with a mix of relief and disbelief. The Goby family, once regarded as pillars of the community, now finds themselves at the center of a scandal that has tarnished their reputation. The highly anticipated trial of Evelyn Traylene Goby, the prime suspect in the murder of Vicki Davis Goby, captivated the city of Charleston in October of 1999. District Attorney Lars Constable led the prosecution, while defense attorney Harry Huxtable fought to cast doubt on the evidence. The courtroom was packed with spectators, eager to witness the unfolding drama. The prosecution presented a compelling case against Evelyn, meticulously outlining the evidence that pointed to her guilt. They showcased the blood-stained baseball bat, the murder weapon that was found near the crime scene. Expert witnesses testified about the DNA analysis that linked Evelyn to the bat. The jury listened intently as the prosecution painted a vivid picture of a calculated and premeditated murder. The defense, on the other hand, sought to create doubt in the minds of the jurors. They questioned the reliability of the DNA evidence, suggesting that it could have been contaminated or mishandled. They also called witnesses who testified to Evelyn's character, painting her as a loving and caring mother who would never commit such a heinous act. The defense argued that the real killer was still at large and that Evelyn was being wrongfully accused. Throughout the trial, the victim's family sat in the courtroom, their emotions palpable. They endured the painful process of reliving their loss as the details of Vicki's brutal murder were recounted. The family's grief was compounded by the shocking revelation that the murder was a case of mistaken identity. Evelyn, suffering from dementia, had tragically killed Vicki, mistaking her for Amber Smythe, her son's lover. As the trial reached its climax, the jury retired to deliberate. The city held its breath, awaiting their decision. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a guilty verdict. The courtroom erupted in a mix of emotions, with some expressing relief that justice had been served, while others questioned whether the death penalty was the appropriate punishment. In the end, the trial of Evelyn Goderby served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of unchecked emotions. It left the city grappling with questions of justice and the complexities of the human psyche. In the aftermath of the trial, the lives of all those involved took unexpected turns. Evelyn Traylene Goderby, now incarcerated at the Charleston Correctional Facility, grappled with the consequences of her actions. The once prestigious Goderby family, known for their old-money Southern charm, was now tarnished by the dark cloud of murder. Their mansion, a symbol of wealth and privilege, stood empty and abandoned, a stark reminder of the tragedy that unfolded within its walls. Greg Goderby, burdened by the weight of his mother's crimes, sought solace in therapy to confront his own demons. He struggled to come to terms with the fact that his own mother had taken the life of his wife. Vicki Davis Goby. Greg, once a successful patent lawyer, found his career in shambles as his reputation became entangled with the scandals surrounding his family. He sought refuge in the arms of Amber Smythe, Vicki's former secretary and his secret lover. The two eventually married, had 3 children, and settled into a modest home in Helena, Montana, far removed from the southern opulence they once knew. The victim's family, devastated by the loss of their beloved Vicki, slowly began to rebuild their shattered lives. They found solace in the support of their community, who rallied around them during their darkest days. The local church held a memorial service in Vicki's honor, where friends and family gathered to share stories and memories of the vibrant young woman whose life was tragically cut short. The investigation and subsequent trial had left an indelible mark on the community of Charleston. The case had captivated the attention of the media, with newspapers and television stations covering every twist and turn of the trial. The local news station, WCBD Channel 2, dedicated a nightly segment to the trial, providing updates on the proceedings and interviews with key players in the case. The trial became the talk of the town, with residents discussing the latest developments over cups of coffee at the local diner, Joe's Cafe. As the years passed, the memory of Vicki Davis Goby began to fade. The Charleston Correctional Facility, once a hub of activity during the trial, returned to its normal routine. The Goby Mansion, now a mere relic of the past, stood as a reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors. As we conclude this episode of True Crime Case Files, we reflect on the chilling plot that unfolded behind closed doors. The tragic murder of Vicki Davis Goby revealed a tangled web of secrets and lies, leaving no one untouched by its devastating consequences. In a shocking twist, the truth behind Vicki's death unveiled a case of mistaken identity, driven by a combination of jealousy, pride, and the tragic effects of dementia. This case serves as a haunting reminder of the depths to which human nature can descend and the lasting impact it leaves on the lives of those involved. Bethany Montalk, age 36, was a dedicated and passionate high school English teacher residing in Wilmington, Delaware. Known for her kindness and creativity in the classroom, Bethany was admired by both her students and colleagues. Her unwavering commitment to helping others made her a beloved figure in the community. Despite facing personal challenges in her marriage,
Bethany maintained a positive outlook and strived to make a difference in the lives of those around her. She dedicated her days to shaping young minds, always going the extra mile to ensure her students received the best education possible. Outside of the classroom, Bethany's love for wine led her to explore the local vineyards in Delaware. She would spend her weekends visiting wineries, immersing herself in the rich history and culture of the region's wine production. She became well-versed in the different grape varieties, fermentation processes, and the art of pairing wine with food. She had an impressive knowledge of various wine brands and was something of a wine connoisseur. Unfortunately, as many teachers in America, her passion for teaching was not enough to pay the bills, and so she worked as a sommelier at a local upscale restaurant in downtown Wilmington to make ends meet, showcasing her passion for wine and providing recommendations to patrons. April of 2002 was a time of excitement and anticipation for Bethany. She had been selected to attend a prestigious education conference in New York City, where she would have the opportunity to connect with other educators and learn from experts in her field. This conference was highly regarded in the education community, and Bethany saw it as a chance to enhance her teaching skills and bring fresh ideas back to her students. Little did Bethany know that she would never go to this conference, would never go anywhere again. A tragic turn of events that would forever change the lives of those who knew and loved her. The investigation into her death would uncover a web of secrets and hidden motives, revealing a side of Bethany's life that no one could have imagined. On a fateful day in April 2002, the lifeless body of Bethany Montalk, a beloved high school English teacher, was discovered in her residence located in Wilmington, Delaware. The date, forever etched in the minds of those involved in the investigation, was April 10th. The weather on that day was mild, with a gentle breeze sweeping through the streets of Wilmington, as the city buzzed with the anticipation of the upcoming Easter holiday. It was early morning when tragedy struck the Montalk household. Bethany's husband, Mark Anthony Montalk, stumbled upon a scene that would forever haunt him. Shock and disbelief washed over him as he entered their home and discovered the lifeless body of his beloved wife. The room was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the distant sound of birds chirping outside. The authorities were immediately alerted, and a team of seasoned detectives from the Wilmington Police Department swiftly arrived at the Montalk residence. The entire house was cordoned off, and the investigation quickly gained media attention, with local news outlets such as the Wilmington Gazette and Channel 8 News reporting on the shocking crime. Neighbors, friends, and colleagues of Bethany Montalk were left in a state of disbelief and grief. The tight-knit community rallied together, holding candlelight vigils and organizing fundraisers to support Bethany's grieving family. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the city of Wilmington, leaving its residents on edge and desperate for answers. As the investigation unfolded, the police remained tight-lipped about the details surrounding Bethany's murder. Rumors began to circulate, with some speculating that the crime was a result of a botched robbery, while others believed it to be a targeted attack. The uncertainty and fear that gripped the community were palpable, as everyone wondered who could commit such a heinous act against a beloved teacher. The police wasted no time in responding to the distressing discovery of Bethany Montalk's lifeless body. On that fateful April day in 2002, the investigators arrived at the Montalk residence with a sense of urgency, ready to unravel the truth behind this heinous crime. Detective Sarah Anders and Detective James Anders, the famous husband and wife team of the Wilmington Police, known for their meticulous approach to investigations, took charge of the case. They were determined to bring justice to Bethany and her grieving loved ones. As they entered the crime scene, the sense of foreboding hung in the air. The Montalk residence, once a place of warmth and laughter, now stood as a haunting reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded. The investigators carefully observed their surroundings,
noting every detail that could potentially lead them closer to the truth. Traces of blood stained the walls and floor, a chilling testament to the violence that had taken place. Signs of a struggle were evident, with overturned furniture and shattered glass scattered throughout the room. It was clear that Bethany had fought for her life, leaving behind a harrowing scene for the investigators to piece together. One crucial piece of evidence stood out amongst the chaos: a glass of Chardonnay wine. The investigators suspected that this innocent-looking beverage had been used as the murder weapon. The toxic substance that tainted the wine was identified as deadly cyanide. a potent poison that could swiftly end a life. The investigators meticulously collected every possible clue, ensuring that no detail went unnoticed. They dusted for fingerprints, carefully bagged and labeled potential evidence, and photographed the crime scene from every angle. The room was meticulously combed for any trace of the perpetrator, any hint that would lead them closer to solving this chilling mystery. As the investigation progressed, the detectives reached out to experts in forensic science. They employed advanced techniques, analyzing the wine glass for DNA, fingerprints, and any other trace evidence that could link the killer to the crime. The clock was ticking, and the pressure to solve the case grew with each passing day. The investigation into the murder of Bethany Montalk captivated the attention of the local community and garnered media coverage. News outlets such as the Wilmington Gazette and the Delaware Times reported on the progress of the investigation, keeping the public informed and engaged in the search for justice. With each passing day, the detectives inched closer to uncovering the truth behind Bethany's tragic demise. They knew that time was of the essence, and they were determined to bring the perpetrator to justice. In the investigation of the shocking murder of beloved high school English teacher Bethany Montalk, the police turned their attention to her husband, Mark Anthony Montalk. Mark, a 38-year-old, presented himself as a successful investment banker, but beneath his bland and pleasant facade lurked a web of secrets. Detectives Sarah Anders and James Anders, a husband and wife team known for their meticulous approach to solving crimes, suspected that Mark had a motive to eliminate Bethany. It was discovered that Mark had a life insurance policy worth a staggering $300,000 on his wife, raising eyebrows and leading investigators to delve deeper into his financial motivations. During the intense interrogation, Mark's emotions fluctuated between anger and calmness as he vehemently denied any involvement in his wife's murder. The detectives skillfully probed his alibi, scrutinizing the events leading up to the fateful day of Bethany's death. To establish a timeline, the detectives meticulously gathered evidence from various sources. They interviewed neighbors who reported hearing heated arguments between Mark and Bethany in the weeks leading up to the murder. The couple's financial records were examined, revealing a pattern of excessive spending and mounting debt. It was discovered that Bethany's teaching job, though highly regarded, did not provide sufficient income, leading her to work as a sommelier to make ends meet. As the investigation progressed, the detectives uncovered a disturbing connection between Mark and a local wine distributor. Records showed that Mark had been purchasing a particular brand of Chardonnay, the same brand found at the crime scene. This discovery raised suspicions that Mark may have tampered with the wine, lacing it with deadly cyanide. To bolster their case, the investigators sought the assistance of forensic experts. The toxicology report confirmed the presence of cyanide in Bethany's system, further strengthening the suspicion against Mark. The detectives also analyzed Mark's financial records, uncovering a series of questionable transactions that pointed to a desperate need for money. With the weight of evidence mounting against Mark, the investigators were determined to bring justice to Bethany and her grieving community. But as they delved deeper into the twisted web of secrets surrounding the Montalk marriage, they would soon discover that there was more to this case than met the eye. Laura Bascule-Groves, a 26-year-old sex education teacher at the same high school where Bethany Montalk worked, has emerged as the second suspect in the investigation. Laura, known for her outgoing personality and rapier wit, was a familiar face among the students and staff. However, beneath her friendly demeanor, a deep-seated hatred towards Bethany simmered, fueled by a secret affair with Bethany's husband, Mark Anthony Montalk. The police wasted no time in bringing Laura in for questioning. The interrogation room was tense, the air heavy with anticipation. Detective Sarah Anders, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for her relentless pursuit of the truth, sat across from Laura. Detective Anders skillfully probed Laura's involvement in the murder, carefully dissecting her every response. Laura's initial reaction to the accusations was one of anger. She vehemently denied any knowledge of Bethany's murder, her voice filled with outrage. "I would never do something so heinous," she exclaimed, her eyes flashing with defiance. However, as the interrogation progressed, cracks began to appear in Laura's facade. With her back against the wall, Laura's denials grew weaker. She attempted to distance herself from the murder, claiming that her affair with Mark had ended months before Bethany's tragic demise.
However, the detectives were not easily swayed by her words. They had uncovered a trove of sexually explicit text messages exchanged between Laura and Mark during the time leading up to the murder, revealing their continued sexual involvement. As the interrogation drew to a close, Laura's demeanor shifted from anger to desperation. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized the gravity of her situation. "I never meant for any of this to happen," she whispered, her voice filled with remorse. The detectives remained stoic, their focus unwavering. The investigation into Laura Bascule-Groves' involvement in Bethany Montalk's murder continued. The truth, like a jigsaw puzzle, slowly began to take shape. The question remained: would Laura's secrets be enough to unravel the mystery surrounding Bethany's tragic demise? In the perplexing case of Bethany Montalk's murder, the investigation took an unexpected turn when a seemingly unassuming neighbor, Daniel Logan, emerged as the third suspect. At the age of 72, Daniel was a widower known for his reserved nature and meticulous attention to detail. Living in the same suburban neighborhood as the Montalks, he had been quietly observing their lives, unbeknownst to them. The police, led by the determined husband and wife team of Detective Sarah Anders and Detective James Anders, brought Daniel in for questioning. The interrogation room was dimly lit, creating an atmosphere of suspense and intrigue. Daniel sat calmly, his demeanor betraying no signs of guilt or nervousness. As the detectives delved deeper into their line of questioning, Daniel revealed a shocking motive rooted in blackmail. It appeared that he had stumbled upon a dark secret of Mark Anthony Montalk, Bethany's husband. Mark, a seemingly successful investment banker, had been leading a double life, engaging in extramarital affairs behind Bethany's back. Daniel claimed that Mark had approached him, offering him sex in exchange for his silence. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation, as it hinted at a complex web of deceit and betrayal. The detectives meticulously probed Daniel for further details, seeking to uncover the truth behind this sordid affair. Despite the gravity of the situation, Daniel remained composed throughout the interrogation. His calmness added an air of mystery to his involvement in the case. The detectives, determined to uncover every piece of evidence, carefully cross-referenced Daniel's statements with other testimonies and physical evidence collected from the crime scene. As the investigation unfolded, the detectives discovered that Daniel had been keeping a detailed journal, meticulously documenting every interaction he had witnessed between Mark and Laura Bascule-Groves, the second suspect. This journal became a crucial piece of evidence, shedding light on the intricate dynamics between the three individuals. With each page turned, the detectives pieced together a timeline of events, connecting Mark's illicit affair with Laura to the murder of Bethany. The journal entries revealed clandestine meetings, secret phone calls, and coded messages exchanged between the two suspects. The investigation into Daniel's involvement in the case continued, as the detectives sought to determine the extent of his knowledge and potential role in the murder. The evidence gathered thus far pointed to a web of secrets, lies, and manipulation, leaving the detectives eager to uncover the full truth. In a shocking turn of events, the truth behind the heinous murder of beloved high school English teacher Bethany Montalk had finally been revealed. After months of tireless investigation, the police identified and arrested the murderer, bringing an end to a dark chapter in the history of Wilmington, Delaware. The mastermind behind this sinister plot was none other than Bethany's husband, Mark Anthony Montalk. The 38-year-old, who presented himself as a successful investment banker, was never an actual investment banker. He had never held a job, never even went to college. In fact, he was a high school dropout and functionally illiterate. His web of lies and deceit began to unravel when the police discovered his dark secret. Driven by a toxic combination of greed, fear, and deception, Mark orchestrated a twisted and frantic plan to keep Bethany from learning the truth about his fraudulent life. In a desperate bid to silence her forever, he poisoned her with a glass of Chardonnay wine laced with deadly cyanide. This chilling act of betrayal sent shockwaves through the community, leaving friends, family, and colleagues in disbelief. But Mark was not acting alone. Another key player in this tragic tale was Laura Bascule-Groves, a 26-year-old sex education teacher at the same high school where Bethany worked. Laura, driven by a deep-seated hatred and a secret affair with Mark, manipulated him into carrying out the murder. In her quest to eliminate her romantic rival and claim Mark for herself, she used his dark secrets as leverage. The police, led by the dedicated husband and wife team of Detective Sarah Anders and Detective James Anders, painstakingly pieced together the puzzle that led to the arrest of both Mark and Laura. With unwavering determination, they meticulously collected evidence, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed forensic data. The arrest of Mark Montalk left the community stunned. The facade of a successful investment banker crumbled, revealing a man consumed by fear and deceit. The arrest of Laura Bascule-Groves added another layer of shock, as her friendly demeanor masked a sinister and calculating mind. As news of the arrest spread, the community of Wilmington breathed a collective sigh of relief. The dark cloud of uncertainty that had hung over them for months was finally dissipating. The memory of Bethany Montalk, a dedicated and beloved teacher, will forever be etched in their hearts. The trial that followed the arrest of Mark Montalk gripped the community of Wilmington, Delaware in April of 2004. District Attorney Emil Borko, the seasoned prosecutor known for his tenacity, presented a compelling case against the accused. The courtroom was filled with tension as the prosecution meticulously laid out the evidence, painting a vivid picture of the heinous crime that had taken place. The defense attorney, Mark J. Castlebreath, fought vigorously to cast doubt on the evidence presented by the prosecution. Castlebreath, known for his sharp legal mind, argued that there were inconsistencies in the timeline of events and questioned the credibility of some of the witnesses. He attempted to create reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors, urging them to consider alternative theories. The trial lasted for several days, with both the prosecution and defense presenting their arguments and calling witnesses to the stand. The jury, composed of 12 individuals from various walks of life, carefully listened to the testimonies and examined the evidence. They deliberated for hours, weighing the facts and the arguments presented before reaching their verdict. Finally, the moment arrived. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the jury foreperson stood up to deliver the verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant, Mark Anthony Montalk, guilty of the murder of Bethany Montalk, the foreperson announced, her voice steady and resolute. Gasps of disbelief echoed through the courtroom as the reality of the verdict sank in. The sentencing phase of the trial commenced shortly after the guilty verdict was announced.
The prosecution argued for a harsh punishment, citing the brutal nature of the crime and the devastating impact it had on the victim's family and the community. The defense, on the other hand, pleaded for leniency, highlighting Mark's lack of a criminal record and his potential for rehabilitation. After careful consideration, the judge handed down the sentence. Mark Montalk would serve a term of 5 years in prison. The courtroom erupted in a mix of emotions, with some expressing relief and others feeling that the sentence was too lenient given the gravity of the crime. As the trial came to a close, the impact of the verdict rippled through the lives of Bethany's friends and family, forever altering their perception of the justice system. They found solace in the fact that the person responsible for Bethany's untimely death would be held accountable, but the pain of their loss would never fully heal. After the trial concluded, the lives of everyone involved in the Bethany Montalk murder case took divergent paths. The suspects, police investigators, and family members were left to grapple with the aftermath of the heinous crime that shook the tight-knit community of Wilmington, Delaware in April of 2002. Mark Anthony Montalk, the convicted murderer, was sentenced to 5 years in prison with the possibility of parole. His once charming facade crumbled as the truth about his deceitful nature came to light during the trial. With his dark secret exposed, he became a pariah, shunned by the community that had once held him in high regard. The Montalk residence, once a symbol of a seemingly idyllic life, now stood as a haunting reminder of the tragedy that unfolded within its walls. Laura Bascule-Groves, the co-conspirator in the murder plot, faced a different fate. Her involvement in the crime tarnished her reputation as a respected educator. The revelation of her manipulative actions left her isolated and ostracized from the community she had once been a part of. Seeking redemption, after her prison sentence of 10 months, she relocated to Orlando, Florida, hoping to start anew and leave behind the dark past that haunted her. As the years passed, the scars left by the Bethany Montalk murder case began to heal, albeit slowly. The community gradually moved forward, determined to not let the darkness overshadow the resilience and spirit that defined Wilmington. The case served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing those we hold dear. The case of Bethany Montalk's murder serves as a chilling reminder of the depths to which human nature can sink. It highlights the importance of uncovering the truth, no matter how hidden or complex it may be.